Fourth in a row, making the closing hire 23 out of 26 sessions, the best in 80 years. That's it from Wall Street. Now let's go to the Situation Room and Wolf Blitzer.
Thanks very much. Happening now, pulling back the layers of failed intelligence on Iraq. A former British diplomat accusing his government of exaggeration, manipulation, and dishonesty. I'll speak to him live this hour. That's coming up. Also this hour, the 2008 primary season could wind up starting close to New Year's or even earlier. We're going to tell you why Florida is creating some chaos in the presidential calendar. And Republicans move beyond the Bush era. With their first debate behind them, are GOP candidates charting a new course for their party? I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Up first this hour, the president's Iraq war team takes a new hit. His deputy national security advisor, J.D. Crouch, is stepping down, and it comes as Mr. Bush's Iraq strategy is being tested on several fronts: on the battlefield, in Congress, and at an international conference in Egypt. Our White House correspondent, Ed Henry, is standing by. Ed, looks like the White House is losing a top official. Do we have any indication what's going on?
Well, Wolf, J.D. Crouch had indicated to the president a couple months ago that he wanted to step down. But what we're really finding, what's going on here, is the president moves closer and closer to lame duck status. The White House is really dealing with a brain drain, mostly especially acute on the National Security Council staff, which is critical at a time when General Petraeus is getting closer and closer to making an assessment on whether the latest Iraq strategy is actually working. And the latest departee, as you noted, J.D. Crouch. He's one of those relatively anonymous officials who nonetheless wields a lot of clout behind the scenes. It was J.D. Crouch who, at the end of the last year, really led the assessment of the Iraq strategy that led to the president in January announcing that it was time to increase the number of troops on the ground in Baghdad. This morning, the White House announced Crouch is stepping down, the second top National Security Council aide just in the last month to hit the exits. Now, White House spokeswoman Dana Perino insisted this was just sort of the normal comings and goings late in an administration.
I mean, I've not been in other administrations, but I don't think it's unusual at this point in a second term in an administration that some people who have served for many years have decided to move on.
And indeed, a former top aide in the Clinton administration reminded me that at the tail end of that administration, they had trouble keeping and bringing on senior staff, in part because of the Monica Lewinsky scandal, other matters. But that administration obviously was not at war at the time. This administration dealing with two wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, at the same time. And their national security advisor, Stephen Hadley, already publicly has said he's got so much on his plate, he needs a war czar. Now he's looking for a war czar. He's looking for two other top aides on his staff. It's a difficult time to try to fill those posts so late in the administration, Wolf.
Is the so-called brain drain, as you refer to it, strictly limited to national security, the National Security Council staff?
No, other spots as well. I mean, for example, they're looking for a new political director, Sarah Taylor, wanting to step down there. What's interesting, they're having a hard time finding someone there because the political staff here has been getting hit with all of these subpoenas from Capitol Hill. Democrats trying to delve into Karl Rove's email and other matters. That's another factor in all this, the fact that Democrats are providing so much oversight now. Not a lot of people want to take some of these senior jobs. Wolf.
All right, Ed Henry, thanks very much. Let's get to the presidential race now. The Republican candidates are ushering in a new era. With their first debate under their belts, they're vying to put a new face on their party. Let's turn to our senior political correspondent, Candy Crowley. She's in California on this, the day after the debate. Is this really a defining moment, Candy, for the GOP?
It certainly is the beginning of the end of the Bush era, and I think you saw that certainly in the debate last night, because underlying all of those questions about abortion and immigration and the budget and the war was a single question, and that is, what's next? The answer is not so easy. It was not just the first Republican debate of the '08 cycle. It was the first event of the post-Bush era, the first time 10 Republican candidates had a chance to show where the party goes from here. They yearn for the heydays.
I think it's important to remember that what Ronald Reagan did was to give us a vision for this country, a morning in America, sitting on a hill.
We forgot to be coming up with new ideas, big ideas like Ronald Reagan.
But the party of Ronald Reagan is minus Ronald Reagan, and even Reaganites say Back to the Future is more wishful thinking than game plan.
Ronald Reagan was a unique man at a unique time, and I think Republicans would be foolish to try and compare anybody to him.
So where to next? They had, at best, only a broad view answer to the question. What emerged last night is a party in flux, buffeted by a disastrous '06 election and the stewardship of a 36% president. They struggle to woo back an electorate overwhelmingly convinced that the country is headed in the wrong direction.
Mayor Giuliani, how do we get back to Ronald Reagan's Morning in America?
You lead from optimism, you lead from hope, and we should never retreat in the face of terrorism.
They are, 9 of the 10, at odds with voters over the premier issue of the day. They are supporting a war the public is weary of.
Well, if you wanted to have a president that just followed the polls, all we need to do is plug in our TVs and have them run the country.
If there was a clear post-Bush direction out of the debate, it was money matters. George Bush has presided over great society spending levels. Republicans have lost the mantle as the party of fiscal responsibility. To a person, they are trying to retrieve it.
The first pork barrel bill that crosses my desk, I'm going to veto it and make the authors of those pork barrel items famous.
In truth, it is difficult for a committee of 10 to set a single direction for the party. Then, too, on issues like abortion, stem cell research, immigration, and taxes, there are differences between these candidates, differences that will be worked out by primary voters.
Did you get a sense that there was a consensus on priorities, Candy, in a post-Bush era?
Certainly, Iraq, is always the one that right now needs to be settled. They are well aware in the Republican Party of how the public feels about this. But beyond that, I will tell you that spending, George Bush has often been said is spending at the level of a great society. So we heard a lot last night about who's already done vetoes as governor of a state, or Rudy Giuliani talking about the budget that he had as mayor of New York. So if there was one thing that you heard that was common to all of them, it was that spending needs to get under control, that the party needs to regain the reputation as the fiscally responsible one. Our chief political correspondent, Candy Crowley in California. Candy, thanks. Republican presidential candidate Tommy Thompson is apologizing today for saying an employer should be allowed to fire a gay worker solely for being gay. Thompson says he misunderstood a question during last night's GOP debate. Let's listen to that exchange and what the former Wisconsin governor is saying about it today.
If a private employer finds homosexuality immoral, should he be allowed to fire a gay worker?
I think that is left up to the individual business. I really sincerely believe that that is an issue that business people have got to make their own determination as to whether or not they should be.
Okay. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
I made a mistake. I misinterpreted the question. I thought that I answered it yes when I should have answered it no. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the question properly, and I apologize. It's not my position. There should be no discrimination in the workplace, and I have never believed that. In fact, Wisconsin's got one of the first laws which I supported.
And in fact, Thompson he fought very hard to have anti-gay language removed from the Republican Party platform when he headed up the platform committee back in 2000. Let's go to Jack Cafferty in New York for the Cafferty File. Got to be very careful, these candidates, what they say during these debates, Jack.
Well, it's already a big departure from the Bush era. Somebody apologizing for making a mistake. Hasn't happened in years. It could be President Bush's third veto. The House has passed a bill that would expand federal hate crime laws to include violent attacks against people because of their sexual orientation or gender. The White House says that state and local laws already cover these crimes, and therefore this bill is unnecessary. Other critics, including a coalition of pastors, say the measure would clamp down on the clergy who preach that homosexual behavior is wrong. Supporters, though, disagree. They say it only applies to violent crime, not to freedom of speech. The current federal hate crime law applies to violence committed on the basis of race, religion, color, or national origin. A similar bill's been introduced in the Senate. If it ever makes it to the president's desk, he says he'll veto it, and he may have a point. It's already against the law to attack someone, whether they're gay, straight, male, or female. And meantime, we still don't have that promised increase in the minimum wage. Here's the question. Is the White House right to say it would veto the hate crimes bill that includes sexual orientation and gender? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile at CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
See you in a little while, Jack. Thank you. Coming up, the 10 Republican candidates stood side by side at the presidential debate. But when it came to the issue of abortion, Rudy Giuliani stood alone. How much will his stance on abortion hurt him with conservative voters? Plus, did any candidate really stand out last night? Or did any really hurt his cause? I'll ask Donna Brazil and Rich Galen. They're in today's strategy session. And we know that pre-war intelligence on Iraq's weapons of mass destruction was wrong. But was it manipulated? Stick around. You're in the situation.
Keep on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side. I really liked Days In a lot. It was great for business. They had everything I needed.
Wireless internet, free internet, trip rewards. Anything you need, you can get right there. Trip rewards program is great. You can use the points just about anywhere.
The staff is very welcoming.
They wanted to make sure that we were happy. Yeah, and we were very happy.
Why don't you keep on the sunny side of life?
Now that the days are longer and the weather's getting warmer, my husband and I were talking about everything we need to do this weekend. He said we should thatch the lawn, clean the barn, fix the fence, and put new belts on the mower. So I said, great. What should we do on Sunday?
Time to dig in and get the job done at Tractor Supply. Through May 20th, save 15% on groundwork seed, sprayers, hose, sprinklers, and garden tools. And this 24-horsepower Husqvarna, just $19.99. The stuff you need out here is in here. Tractor Supply.
Now what's wrong?
They printed these in color.
So?
She's gonna flip.
No, man, it's a Xerox Work Center. Prints color for pennies a page.
Color's good, presentation's good. I'm shocked.
Glad you like it, sir. You are shocked? Really? Because we're shocked. Shocked you even get it, pal. Dave, what are you doing here?
Came to fix the mute button.
Bye-bye bonus.
Shimon Peres calls him one of the preeminent political analysts in the world. He's played a defining role in hundreds of political campaigns, says Mike Bloomberg. President Clinton's former chief of staff calls him one of America's top political strategists. The power of the vote. Doug Schoen's behind-the-scenes look at electing presidents, overthrowing dictators, and promoting democracy around the world. On sale now, wherever books are sold.
Mothers are the greatest. They love us all the time. They're warm, they're fun, they're our golden sunshine. It's not every day we can show our thanks, but a day is oh so near when we can say with a simple gift, Mom, I'm glad you're here.
Hurry in to Macy's to find fabulous fragrance, clothes, and accessories. Get what she really wants at the Macy's Mother's Day gift event going on now.
Even as the candidates get into the debate mode, the 2008 primary season calendar is in chaos right now. Florida's new decision to move up its primary has left other states with early contests scrambling. One state party leader may only be half joking when he talks about a contest as early as Halloween. Let's go to our chief national correspondent, John King. He's here in the Situation Room. It's already on fast forward, but it could really be on fast forward.
Joking and all, but only half joking is dead right. One piece of advice, my friend, get your Hanukkah and Christmas shopping done very early. We may be going straight from Thanksgiving dinner to the snows of Iowa and New Hampshire.
A 2008 primary season that had an unprecedented early calendar to begin with now has a remote chance of seeing the first votes actually cast this year.
It's possible. You know, I can't control what New Hampshire or Iowa do. I mean, certainly they're good partners with South Carolina in this process.
Those three early states are fiercely protective of their nominating rolls. And as a result, an election calendar already front-loaded with early contests is in flux again. Until this week, it was penciled in this way. The Iowa caucus is January 14th, followed by Nevada 5 days later, and the New Hampshire presidential primary, January 22nd. South Carolina planned its Democratic primary January 29th, and its Republican primary, February 2nd. But Florida's move this week rips that version up. Florida set its primary for January 29th, and the domino effect is already in the works because South Carolina insists on being first in the South.
We're a very proud maverick-type state, and we will do whatever it takes to retain our position in presidential politics.
Assuming South Carolina moves up, New Hampshire will be required by state law to move. January 8th is a strong possibility, which will impact Nevada and perhaps land the Iowa caucuses at about 10 shopping days left till Christmas 2007.
There is still so much uncertainty with this calendar that it's not good for the candidates either. They don't know where to focus.
The irony is that the biggest day on the 2008 calendar could have little impact. February 5th will feature nominating contests in at least 10 and as many as 25 states, including California, New Jersey, Missouri, and New Mexico.
History shows, Wolf, as you know, momentum matters most, especially in those early contests. That's why some think that big February 5th date might not have as much impact. Critics of the front-loading process say, look, both national parties need to step in, use a mix of incentives and penalties to try to get the states to spread out these contests. But it's very hard to get the states to listen any time, especially this cycle, because there's no incumbent president, no incumbent vice president. Both contests are considered wide open. Everybody wants to jump in early.
And all these states like Florida and California and everybody else, they want to have a role to play in selecting the respective nominees. But did I get that right? If this domino effect goes in to play mid-December, we could be at the Iowa caucuses?
It's possible, because if New Hampshire goes back as far as the first week of January, the 8th, there's traditionally a split, a little bit of a break between Iowa and New Hampshire. Iowa faces the problem of, do you go Christmas week? So they probably wouldn't do that, so they'd back it up even a little bit further. So we still have to see how this plays out. We probably won't know the final answer until late summer, early fall. But we could have an Iowa caucus in the middle of December.
And then and the Democrats still want Nevada, a caucus in Nevada before the first primary in New Hampshire, so that could really shake things up. John, we'll be watching. We'll get our Hanukkah and Christmas gifts nice and early this year. And heading into the first Republican presidential debate, Rudy Giuliani already had a problem with conservatives who don't necessarily like his support for abortion rights. After last night's debate, that problem may even be worse. Our Dana Bash is following the debate fallout. Dana, what are conservatives saying about Giuliani's debate comments on abortion last night?
Well, you know, Wolf, Rudy Giuliani had to know in this first Republican debate that his remarks on abortion would be scrutinized to the nth degree, and they certainly were. If you troll conservative blogs, listen to conservative pundits and activists, they are making clear they watched very closely, and many were almost mocking in what they heard.
It was framed as a yes or no question. Would overturning Roe v. Wade be a good day? 9 Republicans on stage gave a direct answer. The 10th, Rudy Giuliani, did not.
It would be okay to repeal. It would be okay also if a strict constructionist judge viewed it as precedent.
Giuliani said he'd leave Roe versus Wade up to the courts, repeated he personally hates abortion, but
since it is an issue of conscience, I would respect a woman's right to make a different choice.
Witness a Republican who supports abortion rights trying to win over an anti-abortion GOP primary electorate. But conservative bloggers and activists are skeptical, to say the least.
And the more he's forced to explain his position on abortion, the more people will see that on a very profound issue, where the question is the life of an innocent person, that he has a completely opportunistic and irrational position.
It is not just that he supports a woman's right to an abortion.
So you support taxpayer money or public funding for abortion in some cases?
If it would deprive someone of a constitutional right, yes. I mean, if that's the status of the law, then I would, yes.
As his record and positions get more attention, his frontrunner status has suffered. In just 1 month, Giuliani dropped 10 points in Iowa, and in South Carolina fell 6 points since March. Giuliani tried to clarify his stance at Thursday night's debate, saying he would not allow federal tax dollars for abortion.
I supported it in New York, but I think in other places people can come to a different decision.
Allies say Giuliani's abortion position may be a problem with some GOP voters, but not all.
And I will acknowledge that is a unique position for a Republican presidential candidate, but I believe it's a position that is very reflected, certainly among mainstream Republicans in my state of California and in many other states across the country.
And even hardcore conservatives acknowledge that Rudy Giuliani's stance on abortion may not prevent him from getting the Republican nomination this time around, because many of those blue states, their primaries have moved up, and that means that there will be more Republicans voting early, many of them who may have a stance that may be more in line with Rudy Giuliani. Wolf.
That accelerated calendar could help Giuliani, in other words. Dana, thank you very much. Dana Bash, John King, Candy Crowley, Ed Henry, they are all part of the best political team on television. And remember, for the latest political news at any time, you can always check out our political ticker at cnn.com/ticker. Coming up, which Democrat is beating Republican frontrunner Rudy Giuliani in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup? Find out when I speak with Donna Brazil and Rich Galen. We have new poll numbers. That's coming up in today's strategy session. Plus, Queen Elizabeth's heading off to Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. But why are people betting on her attire instead of the horses? We'll get the situation online. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tonight on 360, a tropical paradise, a woman murdered, an American convicted, despite evidence that he wasn't even there when it happened, despite another man convicted for the same crime. Now that American is speaking out from prison in Nicaragua. 360 tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
The Situation Room, brought to you by Wachovia, made possible with Wachovia.
When it comes to banking, satisfaction means different things to different people.
Someone knowing my name is no small thing.
Having a dedicated fraud specialist if my identity is stolen is reassuring.
Not needing direct deposit with my free checking is truly free checking.
Customers come first at Wachovia. That's why we've been rated #1 in customer satisfaction for the 6th straight year. Watch the toughest finish on the PGA Tour, the Wachovia Championship.
Introducing the 2007 Cadillac CTS Bose Edition, complete with sunroof, Bose sound system, 3.6-liter engine, and wood and leather trim. It's everything you need now to play at full volume. See your local Cadillac dealer for this amazing offer.
Smart Balance Buttery Spread. See if you agree with us that Smart Balance cooks like butter and tastes like butter without the cholesterol and high saturated fat, with no hydrogenated oil and no trans fat naturally, not artificially as some spreads. Smart Balance has the right balance of fats to help improve cholesterol as part of the Smart Balance food plan, with award-winning taste endorsed by professional chefs. Smart Balance. You're going to love that buttery taste.
Tonight on 360, a tropical paradise, a woman murdered, an American convicted. Now that American is speaking out from prison in Nicaragua. 360 tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Wouldn't it be nice if targeting your customers was this easy? Well, thanks to Comcast Spotlight, it is. With dozens of networks, we'll run your ads on only the shows your customers are watching. We can even let you run them in just your neighborhood for further efficiency. Comcast Spotlight. So accurate, you almost can't miss.
For more information, call our Portland office.
So, Brad, why should you be my new roommate?
I like Spider-Man.
Who doesn't?
Oh, I love cats.
Yeah, that's a dog, Brad. How about something for the apartment?
Oh, I'll get the Comcast Triple Play upgrade.
I webbed you. That means you got the apartment.
Get the Comcast Triple Play upgrade. Add Comcast Digital Voice with unlimited domestic calling and faster high-speed internet for just $33 each per month when you already subscribe to Comcast Digital Cable. And catch Spider-Man 3 in theaters May 4th.
James Brown, The Real Story. CNN, Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Carol Costello's here in Washington with a closer look at some other stories incoming into the Situation Room. Carol, what's making news right now?
Well, Wolf, officials at the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan are warning Americans and others to be very careful in Pakistan's tribal areas. Taliban militants are believed to operate in those areas along the Afghan border. And in a statement, the embassy warns non-government organizations and international groups they remain the target of kidnappings and violence. Back here in the United States, many are fuming over the rising price of gas. It's just gone up again, now topping $3 for a gallon of regular. This amid worries over whether refineries will have enough inventory to meet the summer driving demands. Summer driving season begins Memorial Day weekend, as you know. And more people are out of work. The unemployment rate inched up last month, according to a government report out today. It says employers added fewer jobs than experts expected. The unemployment rate rose slightly to 4.5% for April, up 1/10 of a point from March. It's not every day a queen comes to your town. So many are lining up hoping to catch even a glimpse of the queen. It's getting mighty crowded. Queen Elizabeth continues day 2 of her U.S. trip in Virginia. She visited Jamestown, established as the first English settlement 400 years ago. Vice President Dick Cheney and Governor Tim Kaine accompanied her. Tomorrow, the Queen will attend the Kentucky Derby in Louisville. And we await what her hat will look like, Wolf.
A lot of people interested in that part of the story. Stand by, Carol. The Queen's visit to the Kentucky Derby is causing people online to wager on more than just horses. This afternoon's hot bet is on what color hat the Queen, Her Majesty, will wear to the race. Let's go to our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. She's been a British royal watcher for a long, long time. Well, what are they saying online, Abby?
Well, the favorite online for the hat tomorrow is some kind of white or silver. They don't rule out red. Those who are interested in wagering should check out her form. This is the Queen earlier this week. Yesterday, it was in a pinky salmon color hat there yesterday in Richmond. And earlier today, Her Majesty was wearing a sort of turquoise color. All of this important history for people who are going online to internet betting sites to predict what she's going to be wearing tomorrow. Long shot pink again at 7-1, at 2-1. White or silver is a good bet. It's not going to pay you much. And there are some strict rules here. The wager is specifically on the base of the hat. It's not on the trim or on the decoration. It's not on the feathers. Though if you do want to bet on the feathers, there's a place to do that also. We should point out that Congress here in the United States clamped down on online gambling late last year. For the Queen's own subjects, however, all bets are on.
Thank you, Abby, with an important story on the hats. Coming up, pre-war intelligence on Saddam Hussein's weapons. It wasn't right, but was it twisted? Former British diplomat now accusing his own government of manipulation and dishonesty. I'll speak with him live. That's coming up next. Also, while Democrats and Republicans in Congress try to reach agreement on Iraq, out on the campaign trail, it's a very different story. We're going to tell you why. That's coming up next. In the next hour in The Situation.
Situation Online, brought to you by ID Arc Media, the official publisher of Verizon print directories.
ID Arc Media is the official publisher of the Verizon Yellow Pages and home to superpages.com, delivering billions of print and online searches every year. So anywhere, anytime, find the answers you need and the things you want. From your home or anywhere else. ID Arc Media.
Newspapers across America are speaking out against changes to Medicare. The Indianapolis Star warns fixing drug prices is bad for future generations. The Charleston Daily Mail says drug coverage works for seniors. And the Atlanta Journal says keep drug price negotiations out of Fed's hands. 90% of seniors now have comprehensive prescription drug coverage thanks to Medicare. Competition is creating real savings for seniors. Changing Medicare would be a mistake. Tell Congress. Protect today's Medicare.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a fireplace.
And a fireplace. Whoa! And a 4-car garage.
And a 4-car garage.
Go for it. All right, here we go.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a fireplace.
And a 4-car garage.
And a 4-car garage.
All right, let's go. Come on, we got
3 bedrooms.
You can wish for your dream home, or we can find it for you. Results. Another executive advantage. Start your search today at realtyexecutives.com.
Let's go.
The plastics, the materials, the medicines, things that make modern life modern come from one place, chemistry. Learn more at americanchemistry.com.
Now you can choose your perfect summer radiance. New Aveeno Continuous Radiance Lotion lets you customize your color with dial technology. The soy formula and a gradual color booster enhance your natural skin tone. Get summer radiant skin anytime. New Continuous Radiance.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. You can lower your rising monthly payments by consolidating your debt with a home equity loan and paying one lower monthly rate. Just call 1-800-TRY-ELOAN or go to eLoan.com. eLoan. Radically simple.
CNN Saturday Night. Experience the moments that define pop culture through the eyes of the king.
Larry King, 50 years of pop culture. CNN Saturday Night, 9 Eastern.
Sponsored by the people of America's oil and natural gas industry.
Happening now, there were brief encounters between Americans and Iranians, but an international conference in Egypt ended without a close encounter between the Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, and her Iranian counterpart. He left a dinner in Sharm el-Sheikh just as Secretary Rice was arriving. The Iranians apparently felt an entertainer's red dress was too revealing. Also, the chaos and carnage are causing anger, fear, and paranoia. A groundbreaking new study shows the impact of the Iraq War on the minds of American troops. Many are suffering serious psychological problems, and experts fear the stress may be affecting the judgment of some troops. Also, an Iraq War tug-of-war. Presidential candidates are being pulled in different directions, trying to satisfy demands from lawmakers for compromises and demands from their parties to stand their ground. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Now, fresh claims that the war in Iraq was launched based on intelligence that was purposely manipulated. The former British diplomat now is talking at length about his powerful charges, but he says the British government tried to keep quiet. Our Brian Todd has more on the accusations being leveled, the secrets being spilled right now. Brian, Karen Ross, the British diplomat, why is he speaking out now?
Well, Wolf, he says he couldn't speak out earlier because the evidence he presented to a special British commission about the run-up to war was essentially sealed until the British Parliament requested that evidence and made it public themselves. Now Karen Ross is not only speaking out, he's facing accusations of betraying his government for personal gain.
He was Britain's top expert on Iraq at the United Nations until just before the start of the war. Now, Karen Ross says his government had this intelligence at that time on the threat posed by Saddam Hussein.
Iraq did not pose a threat to us or its neighbors, that its stocks of WMD were residual and not substantial, and that containment was working.
In his new book, Independent Diplomat, Ross says the case for war presented by the U.S. and Britain was a gross exaggeration of what we knew, and Britain's behavior at the UN at that time was at best manipulative and at worst dishonest. Ross has so angered the British government that he says London tried to discourage him from publishing it and deleted some sections after he sent the manuscript for approval. An official with Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office didn't respond to that claim, but did give us a statement saying that office is disappointed that Mr. Ross has chosen to betray the trust and confidence placed in him, and the book is also frequently inaccurate. Ross not only stands by his claims, he says Tony Blair's government was submissive to the Bush administration, figuring it could do nothing to stop the Americans from going to war. One analyst says Britain's reputation as a loyal but honest behind-the-scenes partner with the U.S. did seem to break down at the most crucial time.
But it did not convince the United States to slow down the decision about when to launch the war. It did not manage to secure a second UN Security Council resolution authorizing the war explicitly. Therefore, it did not manage to create much international legitimacy.
As a result, Michael O'Hanlon says Tony Blair will take a serious historical hit from the Iraq experience, and Britain may be much less willing to publicly support the Americans in the future. Wolf?
Brian, is there any comment from the Prime Minister's office referring to Karen Ross' specific charges that the British were, quote, submissive to the Americans before the invasion?
Well, we called Tony Blair's office. They wouldn't comment on the book or Karen Ross's added characterization that they were submissive. The British Foreign and Commonwealth Office also wouldn't comment on that, but they are clearly furious over this book.
Thanks very much, Brian. Some very, very blunt talk about pre-war intelligence, the case against Saddam Hussein's Iraq. The former British UN Security Council diplomat Karen Ross is joining us now. He's the author of that new book, Independent Diplomat. Mr. Ross, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So the bottom line is your suggestion that the intelligence was manipulated to justify going to war. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, it's not really a suggestion, and it's actually a recollection of fact. All the time I worked on Iraq as a British diplomat, our assessment, both inside the British government and inside the US government, was that Iraq was not a threat. And yet, by the time the dossier or the public manifestation of the government's claims came out in September 2002, the governments were claiming something much more ambitious.
And so this was not an honest mistake, the fact that the U.S. and the British government and other governments around the world concluded Saddam Hussein had stockpiles of chemical and biological weapons, but it was what are you suggesting? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Sure. It's not an honest mistake. I mean, both governments claim to this day that they were somehow misled by the intelligence. The intelligence was, in fact, pretty clear that Iraq had only residual stocks. It's not that they had nothing, but they had not nearly enough to pose a threat. And that, emphatically, was our internal assessment for all the years I worked on it, between 1998 and 2002. So for these governments now to pretend that it was the intelligence that misled them is false.
You're familiar with the so-called Downing Street memo that was written in July of 2002 by Sir David Manning. He was then a foreign policy advisor to the Prime Minister. He's now the British ambassador here in Washington. Among other things, that memo, which was strictly classified but was later revealed, said this: Bush wanted to remove Saddam through military action justified by the conjunction of terrorism and WMD, but the intelligence and facts were being fixed around the policy. The memo goes on to say the NSC had no patience with the UN route, no enthusiasm for publishing material on the Iraqi regime's record. There was little discussion in Washington of the aftermath of military action. Give us the context of this memo, because it's caused, as you well know over these years, a huge stir, especially the line that intelligence and facts were being fixed around the policy.
Well, I think that confirms what I'm saying. It's pretty clear that the Bush and the Blair governments took a decision to go to war and then tried to use the weapons inspection route and the claims of Iraqi WMD as a justification after the fact, when in fact the intelligence and the facts of WMD did not justify that course. That was not the real reason they went to war.
As you know, the British government has issued statements to the effect that you betrayed the trust and confidence placed in you as a diplomat in order to seek personal gain by writing this book, and that they don't agree with much of the content of the book. They argue that the book frequently is inaccurate and misrepresentative of the Foreign Office and foreign policy. I want you to respond to those serious charges from your own government.
Well, I challenge them to name where it's inaccurate. I mean, they've given me a list of supposed inaccuracies, but in fact they're differences in judgment over my own personal experience. The book is a recollection of my own work. I'm not making claims about other people's experience, simply my own, and I think my memory of my own work is pretty accurate. And I would challenge the government to name those inaccuracies and debate me about them. As for the betrayal of trust, well, that's a fair criticism. I am betraying the trust that was put in me, but I think these issues are more important, frankly, that the public should know what their governments have done in their name. And I think this is an extremely serious matter to go to war on the basis of a falsehood.
Some have suggested you should have spoken up earlier, just before the war or at the war, and gone public with your concerns then when they might have had an impact. What do you say to those?
They're right. I'm ashamed that I didn't speak up earlier. I was afraid to. Friends of mine who were encouraging me to suggested I should have. I was too afraid. I was too attached to my career. I regret it. Friends of mine, such as David Kelly, paid a very great price for the fact that some of us did not speak out at the time. I deeply regret it.
Karen Ross is the author of Independent Diplomat: Dispatches from an Unaccountable Elite. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up here in the Situation Room, another take on allegations that the U.S. and Britain were misled into the Iraq War. I'll speak about that with Richard Pearl, who had a central role in promoting the war early on. Also coming up, after their first debate, where do the Republican presidential candidates go from here? Some interesting stops when we take you on the campaign trail. Stay with us here in the Situation Room.
One of the great things that I think I've been able to do in my life is seize opportunities. I wasn't even a starter. The guy in front of me got hurt, and I had a chance, and I took that chance and had a big day, and I was a starter ever since. And so opportunities are seldom perfect, but I've learned that if you're not ready for them, they may not come again.
If you want to quit smoking, today's your day. Commit Cherry Lozenges, the tasty way to quit smoking.
Lena, 26.4 on 5.
Everyone, hold it. I just got the geological survey. It's exactly what we didn't want to hear.
If If you suffer from allergies, more effective relief is on the way. Benadryl, proven more effective than the leading allergy medicine at relieving your worst allergy symptoms. Get Benadryl, proven more effective.
What do you get when a financial firm with 70,000 people in 50 countries takes the time to understand your needs as if it's just the two of you? Could it be the most powerful two-person financial firm in the world? You and us, UBS.
I just wanted to keep talking to her more and more and more.
We talked for about 5 or 6 hours.
It seemed like there was a never-ending cycle of stories that we could go through.
It's an experience that's undescribable.
Let eHarmony help find the one who's easy for you to talk to. Log on today.
Your shoes are tied, Bob. Your shoes are tied, Bob. Your shoes are tied.
Sprint rugged phones. Tested for toughness. From the leader in 810F mil-spec wireless phones. Because it's a cruel world out there. Businesses get the rugged Sanyo 7050 or the Motorola IC502 for $59.99. Visit sprint.com/business. Sprint. Power up.
I'm Ed Rontaler. I'm 101 years old. This house was built in 1930. We've had a lot of trick-or-treaters, many happy Thanksgivings, many happy memories in this house. I wouldn't trade a single day here for anything.
Each year, mortgage insurance from Genworth Financial helps thousands of people start building their own futures today by getting into their own homes faster. Genworth Financial. Insurance for living, solutions for life.
A Republican who wasn't at last night's GOP presidential debate tops our look at the candidates out on the campaign trail. Fred Thompson speaks tonight at a Republican dinner in Orange County, California. The former senator from Tennessee may jump into the White House race, as all of you know, operative word may. John McCain's also in California for a town hall meeting with Google employees at their Mountain View headquarters. Tomorrow, Rudy Giuliani is the commencement speaker at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. Mitt Romney does the same thing at Regent University in Virginia Beach, Virginia, that university founded by Pat Robertson. Among Democrats, John Edwards is in New Orleans, hammer in hand, helping to build a new home in the hurricane-damaged 9th Ward. He also hammered away at the president's response to Katrina. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are heading to Louisiana tomorrow to speak at a national conference of black mayors. All that on the campaign trail. Presidential candidates are also using online video to interact with potential voters. Congressman Dennis Kucinich is the latest candidate to enter the YouTube spotlight. Our internet reporter Abby Tatton once again joining us. Abby, what is Dennis Kucinich up to?
He's asking the YouTube community to share their stories about a time that they felt the most peaceful, a time they felt the most loved. And the responses are coming in. They're as varied as the YouTube community itself. This one here, a woman recollecting the time she was in a high school marching band. Another one here, Blue Fire Witch, reminiscing about her own Wiccan wedding. And then there's this one.
Before I met Dennis Kucinich, the highlight of my life was getting gonged on the Gong Show.
We'll see if that one gets a response from Dennis Kucinich himself. This is an ongoing project between YouTube and the presidential candidates called YouTube Spotlight. And you'll see from Congressman Kucinich's video that he is sharing his spotlight throughout. His wife, Elizabeth, appears in the background, and she is generating some online responses of her own. Congressman Kucinich, like the other presidential candidates that have used this forum, plans on responding online to some of these videos. Wolf?
What a highlight, getting gonged on the Gong Show. Thanks, Abby, for that. Up next, the high points and the missteps in the GOP presidential race, including an entry into what one candidate calls the gates of hell. Donna Brazil and Rich Galen, they're standing by. We'll talk about debate winners and losers. Also, in our strategy session, do the Democratic frontrunners now have an advantage over their Republican rivals? Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
CNN Tonight.
He's one of a kind.
Ready for the all-star toast to Larry King? You won't believe what happens.
Appreciate your hard work.
A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight.
J.D. Power Automotive Ratings. Everybody wants them. We've got them. See them for yourself in our new interactive video buying guides, now at vehix.com.
Now I had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
At Sandals, having the time of your life means having everything you've ever dreamed of. But most of all, it's having the time together. Get up to 50% off depending on date of travel. Call 1-800-SANDALS or visit our website.
Buick and Fine Living Network invite you to get on the course and enjoy a scenic journey in pursuit of the world's great golf getaways. Available only on demand from Comcast. You'll travel from the rolling hills of Scotland and Ireland to America's most beautiful and challenging greens. Great Golf Getaways is an inspiring and informative excursion any avid golfer will not want to miss, and it's brought to you courtesy of Buick. To access from your remote control, press 889 GM Showroom and then Buick.
Hey Mariner fans, all home games on FSN are now available in high definition on FSN HD. Watch Ichiro, Felix, Betancourt, and the rest of the Mariners in high definition as they battle to be the best in the AL West. With 65 games in high def, FSN HD is the only way to watch the Mariners in HD TV this season.
King, 50 years of pop culture. CNN, Saturday night, 9 Eastern.
Blue sky, smiling at me. Nothing but blue sky.
Today, there's a fuel that, when paired with advanced diesel engines, will help reduce truck emissions by 90%. And that means bluer skies and cleaner air for all of us. Introducing new ultra-low sulfur diesel. From the people who bring you oil and natural gas. Learn more at energytomorrow.org.
Strategy Session, brought to you by the people of America's oil and natural gas industry. Learn more at energytomorrow.org.
Win, lose, or draw. That's what many are debating after last night's debate among the Republican presidential hopefuls. That's also a topic of our strategy session today. Joining us now, our CNN political analyst, Democratic strategist Donna Brazil, and Republican strategist Rich Galen. Guys, thanks for coming in. Quickly, was there a clear winner or a clear loser in your mind, Donna?
Oh, no question. Ronald Reagan was the winner last night. I saw all.
He's not running, though.
Well, he's not running, but they were running to succeed Ronald Reagan, not George W. Bush. What I found interesting in that here you have the 40th president of the United States. They were talking about his optimism, his strength, his strong family values. I thought Ronald Reagan came out the winner last night.
Any of the candidates, though?
Well, Mitt Romney did it himself a great deal of good, but if I was a Republican looking at the debate last night, I would want to know more about Mike Huckabee.
What about you?
Yeah, Huckabee's a very strong potential candidate. I thought that the top three probably didn't do themselves much harm, didn't move the needle ahead. I think they probably, much like the Democratic thing the other night, the trained candidates know how to do this.
Here's what Giuliani said on abortion, standing alone on that platform on this issue. Listen to this.
In my case, I hate abortion. I would encourage someone to not take that option. But ultimately, since it is an issue of conscience, I would respect a woman's right to make a different choice.
Is that going to hurt him in this Republican contest?
Well, I mean, but this is typical of what he's been saying. Remember, a couple of weeks ago, he said he believed that there should be public funding for abortions. So the issue for Giuliani is, does he keep on being Giuliani and hope that this thing becomes a national security election, or does he try to moderate? I don't think he can moderate. The question, though, is for Republican primary voters, at what point, if any, does the camel's back break? And I think for many, the camel's knees are beginning to buckle.
What do you think?
Clearly, it's not his issue. He was not strong on many of the social issues, and he came across as an opportunist, someone who was changing his position to get votes in the primary, but in the general election, he left it open for independents that maybe he is pro-choice after all.
Well, he says he does support a woman's right to choose, even
And
though
I
he hates
support that
hates abortion. So what I hear you saying is it probably will hurt him among Republican conservatives, but could help him in a general election.
It's clearly that's where he's trying to position himself to reach out to independents in the fall, but in the primary, he knows he has to appeal to conservatives.
But, you know, the other person in the room last night that I thought had some impact on this was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And if the Republican primary voters look past everything else to who can win, then somebody like Giuliani can trump all that stuff, because if Republicans think he can beat Hillary or Barack Obama or Al Gore, then
Edwards, we don't know.
Well, we don't know.
Well, here are some hypothetical polls that Hotline published today in a potential hypothetical contest involving the Democratic frontrunner right now, Senator Clinton, against McCain, chose 45-45, 11% undecided. Against Giuliani, on the other hand, he wins 47-43 over Senator Hilton, 10% undecided. So Giuliani does better against Senator Clinton than McCain does.
I think one reason why is most voters still do not know who Rudy Giuliani is or who the real Rudy is. And so I think Hillary is well positioned. She's electable. And clearly, given those poll numbers, her campaign should continue to put her record out there and put her personality forward.
Well, take a look at this, Rich, on the... if Barack Obama were the Democratic nominee, if he ran against John McCain, look at this poll number. He gets 48% Obama, McCain 37%, undecided 15%. And if he runs against Giuliani, he wins too. Obama with 48%, Giuliani 39%, undecided 13%. So he decisively beats both McCain and Giuliani in this hotline poll.
And in a poll that was released yesterday by Quinnipiac-Pollock, this is why you have to be careful about one poll. What we do, by the way, and I think Donna will agree with this, it's sort of like a figure skating. You assume that the French and the East Germans are going to cheat. So you throw out the top, you throw out the bottom, and you take the mass of them. The other day, the Quinnipiac poll had McCain beating Obama, or tied with Obama, 42-42, and Giuliani just barely beating Obama, 44-41. I think what this tells us is this is a 50-50 country, and this election will probably turn on something very
In the generic, would you vote for a Democratic candidate for president or a Republican candidate for president? In this hotline poll, Democrats get 47%, Republicans get 28%, neither get 8%. There's no names attached. What do you make, if anything, of that?
Well, it goes to show you that the Democrats have come a long way in convincing the American people that we're strong on security, we can handle domestic issues, and we can bring this country back down the road to prosperity.
I don't think it says that much at all. I think generic generic votes matter in congressional races and in Senate races. I think at the presidential level, it's a completely different choice. It has a lot to do with emotion, not very much to do with logic.
I'll take those numbers today, though.
Well, the election isn't.
It's a snapshot. That's what those polls are. It doesn't necessarily mean much down the road, but it's a little snapshot of where we are right now. Guys, thanks for coming in, Donna and Rich. And still to come, the presidential candidates harden their positions on Iraq, the Democrats versus the Republicans, and their war debate. And would the White House be right to veto a bill that defines anti-gay and anti-women violence as hate crimes? Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Closed captioning hours provided by Icy Hot Heat Therapy. When the heat is on, the pain is gone.
For pain across your whole back, Icy Hot has it covered.
New Icy Hot XL patch. Icy to dull pain, hot to relax it away. Icy Hot XL. XL relief for XL pain.
Questions to an oil company.
What alternative forms of fuel are out there?
Shouldn't they be trying to give us a better product, a cleaner burning product?
How do we head towards what's next?
What are you doing?
For fast heartburn relief, Harry and Mike do things very differently. Mike chews just one Pepsi Complete. Harry chews a few Tums. And when heartburn returns, a few more. Mike's one Pepsi Complete starts to neutralize acid in seconds and keeps working all day. So while Harry may have to take Tums again, Mike and his heartburn are gone for the day. Pepsi Complete. Chew one and heartburn's done.
I'm Darren Anderson, President of the National Association of Payday Lenders. We want you always to use payday advances responsibly. Payday advances are never designed to be a long-term financial solution. It is one way to deal with unplanned short-term expenses. Please borrow only what you feel comfortable paying back when it's due. This seal is your assurance that you're dealing with a responsible lender.
Always use payday advances responsibly.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com for a fixed-rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
Let's get to the truth. It's time for Answers.
Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN 6 Eastern. On an all-new CNN Special Investigations Unit, the real story of James Brown. Jail time, family feuds, the controversial life of an American music legend, James Brown. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
President Bush was there to strike up the band, but there was no dancing this time. With Attorney General Alberto Gonzales on hand, the president presided over a Cinco de Mayo celebration in the Rose Garden a day early. Watch this.
Welcome to El Jardín de los Rosas. It's a great place to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. As a matter of fact, I've been looking forward to celebrating this so much that we decided to have it on 4 de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican national holiday widely celebrated in the United States and especially in the president's home state. So the Rose Garden event included a Latin-flavored ode to Texas.
The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas. Remind me of the one I love. Deep in the heart of Texas. Welcome to the
Pretty good stuff. We also want to thank our longtime national correspondent, Bob Frank. And during his 21 years here at CNN, Bob has reported on some major stories here in Washington, across the nation, and around the world, from the war in Iraq to the 9/11 terror attacks to the Gulf Coast hurricanes. Bob has been key in all of those stories. He's been also key in our political coverage over these many years, including numerous presidential campaigns and the impeachment of Bill Clinton. Bob is always someone we could trust and go to on a moving story. We want to encourage Bob to stay in touch with us. He's fortunately moving on to some new adventures. We expect he will approach whatever is next in his career with the same quick sense of humor he always brought to his work here, to our bureau, and we, of course, wish Bob Franken only the best. And I know Jack Cafferty, who's joining us from New York, wishes Bob Franken only the best as well.
I got to know Bob a little bit during the Republican National Convention about 3 or 4 years ago. He always brought a wonderful sense of irony to the work that he did, and he had one of the better BS detectors on the street that I've ever run across.
You're absolutely right on that.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, he got it. You know, he could look at a situation and he saw right through it to whatever the essence was, and that's a quality you don't find too often. So we'll miss that here at CNN, and whoever winds up taking advantage of Bob's talents next, we'll be fortunate to be able to do that. Our question here is the White House right to say that would veto the hate crimes bill that has passed the House that includes sexual orientation and gender? Eugene writes in Myers Flat, California, the latest hate crimes bill goes too far. Why don't we add disabled veterans, senior citizens, left-handed people, etc. to the list? I object to homosexuality on religious and moral grounds, and that can't be legislated away. Dave in Pennsylvania, ordinarily I would agree with this. If you kill someone just because you hate them, they are no more dead than if you killed them by accident. But I would disagree with this White House because its motives are not charitable. The veto would be for all the wrong reasons. John in Riverton, Wyoming writes, there are ample laws on the books to deal with assaults on people. There's no need to further to try to legitimize the homosexual community by giving them even further protected status. Denise, Washington, D.C., your question misses the point. Federal hate crimes laws already exist for classifications such as race, religion, color, and national origin. The question is whether that should be expanded to include sexual orientation, a classification that accounts for more than 14% of all hate crimes, according to the FBI. There's no reason to exclude sexual orientation from existing federal law other than pure bigotry. Jim writes, as usual, Bush is consistently wrong. Bigotry that results in violence is still very common in this country. It's often not prosecuted. This law would ensure that if local law enforcement refuses to prosecute violent bigotry, it can be prosecuted by federal authorities. And Jacob in Gainesville, Florida writes, President Bush should definitely veto this. As a gay man, I don't need or want special protection. People should be punished for the crimes they commit, not the reason they commit them. Wolf?
Jack, thank you. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, happening now. Anger, fear, paranoia, and more. The brutal war in Iraq taking a more serious toll on U.S. troops than anyone realized. Results of a groundbreaking study showing many servicemen and women on edge right now. Also, diplomacy derailed. The meeting the world, at least much of the world, was hoping for between the U.S. and Iran, a no-go. What role did a sexy red dress play? And a $65 million lawsuit over a pair of pants. We're going to have details of a simply unbelievable case making headlines around the world and threatening to end one family's American dream. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Deadly new violence in Iraq, claiming 5 more American lives as the U.S. military seizes 16 terror suspects accused of helping bring in deadly armor-piercing explosives from Iran. And now we're learning that the unrelenting carnage and seemingly endless insurgency is taking a very serious toll on U.S. troops, much more severe than anyone imagined. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is joining us now with details of a truly groundbreaking study. What does it show, Jamie?
Well, Wolf, this is a survey of troops doing dirty, dangerous duty in Baghdad and in other places in Iraq. And what it found was the more stress they face, the more stressed out they are.
Anger, fear, paranoia, sleep disorders. Iraq veteran Joe Wheeler knows all the telltale signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. He lives it.
I think what really pushed me over the edge was I was at a concert and somebody whistled into the microphone. And it sounded like an incoming mortar round. It sounded exactly like it. And I was throwing myself to the ground before I realized what was going on.
A new Army study of frontline combat units in Iraq confirms Specialist Wheeler is far from alone, showing that nearly half of all National Guard troops, close to 40% of active duty soldiers, and almost a third of Marines report psychological problems. A key finding, Marines suffer less because their tours are shorter, 7 months compared to a year or more for Army troops.
The level of combat is the main determinant of a soldier's or Marine's mental health status.
The finding comes as the Army has just extended basic tours to 15 months with 1 year off. The study suggests battle-weary troops really need at least 18 months to 3 years to recover. But the groundbreaking part of the study focused on battlefield ethics, for the first time ever asking 1,300 soldiers and 450 Marines their attitudes about torture and abuse.
They looked under every rock, and what they found was not always easy to look at.
Among the findings, only 47% of soldiers and 38% of Marines agreed that non-combatants should be treated with dignity and respect. 10% of soldiers reported mistreating non-combatants or damaging their property. Fewer than half of soldiers and Marines said they would report a team member for unethical behavior. And more than 1/3 of all soldiers and Marines said they thought torture should be allowed to save the life of a comrade. That's what they say, but the Army says not what they do.
What it speaks to is the leadership that the military is providing, because they're not acting on those thoughts. They're not torturing the people.
So what's the answer? Well, General Pollock, the Army's acting Surgeon General, said at one point the real answer is to end the war in Iraq. But barring that, the Army has to be a lot bigger to give more time for troops who are rotating in and out of Iraq. Until then, the answer is going to be discipline, leadership, training, and as much time off as they can give the soldiers and Marines.
That's going to be tough given the demands out there right now. We'll be watching, Jamie. Thanks very much. Moving on. Like the Democrats, the Republican presidential candidates now have a debate under their belts. For both fields, the war in Iraq certainly was a major topic of discussion on those stages. After those debates, have the candidates' positions on the war been clarified? Here's our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider.
President Bush's veto of the Iraq funding bill generates powerful pressure for the two parties in Congress to come together. Democrats acknowledge it.
It's incumbent upon us to work together. I don't even think it's a question of backing down. It's a question of recognizing reality.
Republicans acknowledge it too.
I hope my Democrat colleagues will do the right thing. Republicans are here to work with them. If they're willing to do the right things, Republicans will be there to support them to get a new bill to the White House.
Presidential candidates face different pressures.
Are they going to be pragmatic? Are they going to talk about compromise? Or are they going to play to the base?
In Congress, the pressure is to make a deal. In the campaign, the pressure is to stand firm. Hillary Clinton has gone from explaining her vote to authorize the war.
If I knew then what I now know, I would not have voted that way.
To pressuring Congress to reverse it.
It is time to sunset the authorization for the war in Iraq.
John Edwards' first TV ad urges congressional Democrats not to compromise.
Don't back down to President Bush. Send him the same bill again and again.
Republican candidates warned of the consequences of getting out of Iraq too soon.
Rather than simply walking away and leaving the Middle East in a complete disastrous chaos that will spread to the region and to the rest of the world, it's important that we finish the job.
The direst possible consequences.
If we withdraw, there will be chaos, there will be genocide, and they will follow us home.
Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, reporting. Let's go to Carol Costello. She's monitoring some other stories incoming to the Situation Room right now. What's going on, Carol?
Yeah, we just got some new pictures in Wolf. A small plane has gone down in Maryland City, Maryland. That's in Anne Arundel County, which is south of the city of Baltimore. That plane, well, you're not seeing it right now because these are live pictures. I think they're scanning an airport that's close by where the plane is believed to have taken off from. The plane appears to have flown a short distance and then went down nose first into a patch of woods. This is a very rural area. When I find out more, I'll tell you. I don't know if anyone was hurt in the crash. Also in the news this afternoon, a top aide to President Bush is stepping down. Just a few hours ago, the White House announced that Deputy National Security Advisor J.D. Crouch is leaving his post. In a statement, President Bush said Crouch was at the forefront of developing and implementing a new Iraq strategy. No reason being given for his departure. The mayor of Los Angeles is cutting short a trip to Mexico and heading back to the city amid a growing controversy over alleged police brutality. This week, officers used batons and more than 200 rounds of rubber bullets to clear a park where immigration rights activists were rallying. Mayor Antonio Villagrosa is promising a thorough and transparent investigation. And checking the bottom line for you now on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up slightly, hitting a record high for a fourth straight day. The Dow has now risen 23 out of the past 26 sessions, the longest bullish trend since 1927. The broader S&P 500 and the tech-heavy NASDAQ also ended the week at 6-year highs. Back to you, Wolf.
But we always got to remind our viewers out there, Carol, what goes up
must come down.
So
I know.
don't get too bullish on this market yet. We're watching it very, very closely. Thanks, Carol, very much. Jack Cafferty is watching the markets. He's watching everything else as well. It's been a pretty good season out there on Wall Street, Jack.
I was just listening to your advice there. Do you do like financial planning or anything like on the side?
On the side.
I might have you give me a few recommendations.
Trust me, Jack. You don't want to listen to me.
Another day. Another government outrage. Wait till you hear this. If this doesn't steam you, then nothing will. Veterans care in this country. There is a backlog currently of 600,000 cases of veterans who are waiting to get disability benefits. Nevertheless, some senior Veterans Affairs officials are collecting hefty bonuses, some of them as high as $33,000. This is according to Associated Press. Someone, fortunately, noticed this, trying to put a stop to it. It's nonsense. Democratic Congressman John Hall says it's shocking and scandalous. There are other words for what it is, but we can't use them because this is a family program, and you saw what happened to Don Imus when he got too far over the edge. Anyway, this congressman is introducing a bill that would put a hold on the bonuses paid to these guys in the Veterans Administration until they get the backlog down to under 100,000 cases. The VA says that could take months, maybe even years to accomplish. Right now, delays for our veterans returning from the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, 177 days on average for veterans seeking treatment. 6 months these people are having to wait. In 2006, the VA paid out $3.8 million in bonuses. I guess because the agency's doing such a bang-up job taking care of our returning soldiers. The average bonus for a senior VA official, $16,000, the highest of any branch of government. In light of the delays and backlogs, here's the question. What sort of bonuses do Veterans Affairs officials deserve, do you think? Email CaffertyFile at CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf?
Get ready. You're going to get a lot of email on this question.
Oh, it's outrageous.
Stand by. There's some other outrageous stories we're watching as well. Coming up, he's singled out in former CIA Director George Tenet's scathing new book on the buildup to the war in Iraq. The former Assistant Secretary of Defense Richard Pearl is here in the Situation Room. He'll answer Tenet's allegations. Also, CNN's Richard Quest. He's hot on the heels of his monarch as she visits Virginia. We're going to go there live. Plus, this is truly outrageous, this story. You're going to find out how one family could lose almost everything they've worked for all over a pair of pants. Stay with us. You're in the Situation.
The Bottom Line, brought to you by Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
You see a long business trip. At Franklin Templeton, we saw regional air travel rising and invested in a commuter jet manufacturer ready to take off. A smart move for our fund shareholders. Perspective like this has made Templeton a pioneer in global investing. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective. Ask your advisor for a prospectus with investment goals, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
I'll stop the world and you've seen the difference and it's
Inspiration pulled from your life. That's professional grade. With the simplest form of navigation available and safety features that are unparalleled, it's defining the category. Welcome to Acadia, the crossover from GMC.
I'm a network specialist.
I'm a cell site technician.
I'm a data engineer. I'm a systems engineer. Our team constantly strengthens the Verizon wireless network, monitoring network usage,
Connection quality,
network reliability.
The minute there's a surge in the volume of data,
We're there to boost the network's capacity. Do you want to know why Verizon Wireless is such an advanced network? You're looking at it. You're looking at it. You're looking at it.
you're looking at it.
It's the Stainmaster Flooring Fashion Premiere, featuring the latest looks in high-fashion flooring from Stainmaster Carpet. Gorgeous new patterns, stunning new colors, luxurious styles to transform any room. Bring the enduring beauty of Stainmaster Carpet to your home during the Stainmaster Flooring Fashion Premiere. For the ultimate selection of luxurious and stylish Stainmaster Carpet, visit the Stainmaster Flooring Center near you.
What are you doing?
I'm sending pictures of the amazing Jack to Grandma.
You're sending me to Grandma's? But I have to save the world today.
Well, the world's gonna have to wait, because once I press this button, you're on your way to Florida. Back already?
I have superpowers, remember?
If only everyone knew you can share memories by uploading photos to Walgreens.com and sending them to any Walgreens nationwide.
Diplomacy derailed, possibly by a red dress. An international conference on Iraq has now wrapped up in Egypt, but the meeting the world was really watching for between the U.S. and Iran never materialized. The question now is this: why? Our State Department correspondent Zain Verji is in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, with the latest. Zain?
Wolf, Iran and the U.S. came face to face here in Egypt, but did a violinist keep them apart? A lady in red. Did she get in the way of some potential breakthrough diplomacy between the United States and Iran? At a closed-door dinner in Egypt, Iran's foreign minister fled the room just before Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice arrived, dashing her plans for a bit of conversation.
You could ask him why he didn't make an effort. Look, I'm not given to chasing anyone.
We did.
Because some technical issues, I could not attend there.
Others told us Manucher Mottaki was offended by a Russian violinist in a sexy red dress. Rice's spokesman wasn't convinced. He said, "I'm not sure which woman he was afraid of, the woman in the red dress or the Secretary of State." Officials from the two sides finally sat down together. Their chit-chat lasted a mere 3 minutes.
We are not looking for some kind of demonstration. We are not looking for some kind of show, you know. We are not looking to talks just for talks.
Mottaki told CNN he thinks Rice wants better relations with Iran.
We see some changes in words, and we hope these words be translated in practice.
Iraq's foreign minister says the proxy war between Iran and the United States is bad for his country, and it's time for the two to talk.
It is in my country's interest really to see a reduction of this tension.
That's why the U.S. is reaching out.
The United States has no desire to have anything contribute to a more difficult set of circumstances for Iraq.
Secretary Rice says this week's conference was a breakthrough for everyone because, for once, the United States and Iran were on the same side, Iraq's. Wolf?
Zain Verji at Sharm el-Sheikh for us. Thank you, Zain. There were also some other positive developments at the conference, including a declaration by Iraq's Shiite-led government to work for more inclusion of the country's Sunni minority, while Iraq's Sunni-led neighbors agreed to work harder to stop foreign fighters from entering the country, entering into Iraq. Other international news we're following. What does China have to do with your mortgage? A lot more than you probably realize. CNN's John Voss explains how decisions in Beijing could impact your wallet. John?
Wolf, what could ultimately be the world's biggest investment fund will be controlled by a government whose own leaders admit is rife with corruption. Would you trust this man with hundreds of billions of dollars? The Chinese government does, and what Lou Jiwei decides in Beijing could end up costing American homeowners.
In theory, Chinese investment decisions could cause a spike in US interest rates.
Lo is the head of a new government agency which will soon be investing part of China's massive stockpile of foreign cash reserves, worth $1.2 trillion and growing fast, $1.5 billion every day.
Present trends in 2 years, they could have $2 trillion.
It's the end result of a booming economy. Beijing's central bank has been buying US-issued treasury bills earning a low 4% interest rate, effectively loaning Americans cheap money, and along the way propping up the US dollar.
Now, if you can double that to 8%, which is still below the average of the fund return in the world, that's equivalent to China's entire national education budget.
If China stops buying treasury bills, the dollar could plunge. To prop it up, the Fed would increase interest rates, and that means higher mortgage costs. And never before has there been an investment fund potentially this big, hundreds of billions of dollars. Analysts warn it could move markets and the value of your 401k by the touch of a bureaucrat's button.
Sometimes when we talk about huge funds with like 20 billion US dollars, a movement could move the market. And now we're talking about 200 billion every year.
But the catch here for the Chinese, if they hurt the US economy, they also hurt their number one customer. Wolf?
All right, John, thank you. John's in Beijing for us. The U.S. is China's number one customer by far. We have a trade deficit with them totaling $232 billion. Another interesting note, the U.S. national debt stands at about $8.8 trillion. Of that, just more than $2 trillion, roughly 24%, is held by other countries. Japan holds the largest share, more than $617 billion, 29%. China holds more than $416 billion, or roughly 19% of U.S. foreign-held debt. Coming up, the former Assistant Defense Secretary Richard Perle. He'll be joining us to answer accusations from the former CIA Director George Tenet in his explosive new book on the run-up to the war in Iraq. Plus, catching up with the Queen, our own Richard Quest. He's standing by live. Stay with us here on The Situation.
We just got a new car. Good time to look at new car insurance, and we went with Progressive, saving like $400 a year. But what really impressed me was they actually gave me the rates the other big companies. Was not expecting that. I mean, that kind of honesty is... Oh, did you have anything to do with this?
No.
Right.
Get our rates plus competitors at Progressive.com. Honest. Progressive. Saving hundreds is just the beginning.
Abu Ghraib market area. We had 2,000 people from the community protest our presence in their country. These were not terrorists. We were told that we were there to liberate these people. They were shooting at us to keep American soldiers in Iraq for an indefinite period of time being attacked by an unidentifiable enemy is wrong, immoral, and irresponsible.
Support our troops. Bring them home.
MoveOn.org Political Action is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Another busy day in big banking.
Something's in my putting line.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I've got a great business plan, and as you can see, my business has really taken off.
I think it's a small business owner. Probably looking for a handout.
Our fourth quarter profits.
Nice shot. Mind if we play through?
Does your bank think small about your small business? Call Capital One instead for no-hassle business loans, lines of credit, and credit cards. Check your mailbox.
Hello, Capital One?
Business plan. What's in your wallet?
CNN Tonight.
He's one of a kind.
Ready for the all-star toast to Larry King? You won't believe what happens.
Appreciate your hard work.
A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight.
It's the Stainmaster Flooring Fashion Premiere, featuring the latest looks in high-fashion flooring from Stainmaster Carpet. Gorgeous new patterns, stunning new colors, luxurious styles to transform any room. Bring the enduring beauty of Stainmaster Carpet to your home during the Stainmaster Flooring Fashion Premiere. Stainmaster Carpet, always stylish, always beautiful. For a retailer near you, visit Stainmaster.com.
Guys, you had to know this was coming.
Actually, we feel blindsided. We just weren't expecting you to block us.
Well, after last week's episode, what am I going to do? There are children in this house, Marcelo. You tell me you're all going to go straight and start acting like kittens? Stop shivving each other in the prison yard?
Shanking.
What?
It's a verb. To shank.
Look, I'm not asking you to change your ways. I'm just blocking you so the kids can't see. Now, who wants lemonade?
Larry King, 50 years of pop culture. CNN, Saturday night, 9 Eastern.
The next stop for Britain's Queen Elizabeth II is Louisville, where she'll be attending the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Today, she's in Virginia to help commemorate the founding of the first British settlement in North America. Our own Richard Quest is following Her Majesty's visit here to the United States. What's going on, Richard?
Literally, Wolf, following in the Queen's footsteps. It was down this path that the Queen walked earlier today. There were 300 people watching her do it. Now we seem to be on our own. And she was looking at the archaeological digs and the sites from the original fort that was founded 400 years ago. Bit of trivia for you, Wolf. That tower is part of the church built in 1680, and it's probably the only part of the fort that is still above ground and still here. The Queen was fascinated, Wolf. This is something she really wanted to see for one reason. When she was here 50 years ago, it had been thought that none of the underground part has still survived, Wolf.
And how has she been received by the Americans? What's the mood like wherever she goes?
I would say the mood is jubilant. There is a welcoming rah for Her Majesty. You know, people in America are not smitten in a sort of pathetically craven way. over the Queen. But they are delighted to see her. Listen to the crowds that you're hearing. God save the Queen, they shouted in some cases. At William and Mary College, she was given, where she is at this afternoon, she was given a warm welcome. And what we'll see at the Kentucky Derby will be fascinating to see whether that holds through, Wolf.
And then she shows up here in Washington at the White House on Monday, as does Richard Quest. Richard, we'll stay in close touch with you. Thank you very much. Of course, royalty has its privileges, but free pizza and booze might not exactly be what comes to mind when you think of royal perks. So that's just what the Queen will be presented with tomorrow in Louisville. Kentucky Derby sponsor Crown Royal is giving the Queen a barrel of specially blended whiskey to be opened only on her command and not to be outdone. Louisville-based Papa John's Pizza is promising her and her family, get this, free pizza for life. Just what she needs. Coming up, he was billed as the hardest working man in showbiz, but there was more to the late James Brown's life and career than you may realize. And a family on the brink of losing everything, because of a pair of pants. $65 million questions, all that coming up here in The Situation.
This jacket means something. Buying, selling, of course, but it's more than that. It's about the things that really matter. Listening and understanding and really putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's about a standard. I choose to do what 144,000 other Century 21 agents around the world do. Wear this jacket.
Century 21. The gold standard.
The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary thing.
Armor All Wax, wipes, and tire shines. Go ahead, stare.
As you age, it's essential to make the best healthy aging decisions, which is why GNC developed the GNC 50 Plus multivitamins, supporting healthy aging with energy, heart, vision, and memory support. For more than 70 years, we believe a quality life starts from within. Live well.
If you're looking to refinance, cash out equity, or purchase a new home, you can count on Ditech to provide a great rate and outstanding personal service. And get your conditional loan approval in minutes. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Tonight on 360, a tropical paradise, a woman murdered, an American convicted, despite evidence that he wasn't even there when it happened, despite another man convicted for the same crime. Now that American is speaking out from prison in Nicaragua. 360 tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
So thousands of other mid-sized companies run SAP software. Does that mean I'm not the maverick nonconformist I thought I was?
I keep itching, puking and sneezing and sniffles and stuff.
9 million kids are uninsured. State children's health insurance programs can help.
My dad took my temperature, it was 100 degrees below zero.
S-CHIP is for kids whose parents work but can't afford insurance.
You have to have health insurance. It's very important.
But millions of kids can't get it unless Congress supports it. Let's get America's kids covered.
I don't hear anything.
Plug in, the first ultra-adaptable room, only from Marriott.
To our viewers, you're in The Situation Room happening now. He wants to warm up ties with America and convince his own people to work more. Conservative Nicolas Sarkozy is favored to win Sunday's runoff vote in France against the socialist Ségolène Royal, and from becoming France's first woman president, if he wins, that is. Also, the Attorney General Alberto Gonzales will appoint a new director of the Executive Office for U.S. Attorneys. The Justice Department says Kenneth Melson will take over from Michael Battle. Battle had to deliver the bad news to 8 federal prosecutors fired last year. That scandal, as you know, has rocked the department. And former President Bill Clinton said today the U.S. health care system could be destroyed by disasters such as worldwide famine, along with the current American obesity epidemic, unless politicians begin to plan ahead. I'm Will Flitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Former CIA Director George Tenet painting a picture of an administration aching to invade Iraq immediately after 9/11. He makes some very serious allegations in his new book, singling out individuals, including a former Assistant Secretary of Defense, Richard Pearl. Richard Pearl is here in the Situation Room to answer some of Tenet's accusations. Richard, thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
The book is entitled At the Center of the Storm. Tenet was here in the Situation Room earlier in the week. He writes this right at the beginning of the book. As the doors closed behind him, we made eye contact and nodded. I had just reached the door myself when Pearl turned to me and said, quote, Iraq has to pay the price for what happened yesterday. They bear responsibility. I was stunned but said nothing. That's what Tenet says happened on Wednesday, September 12th, the day after 9/11. You've said you weren't even in town that day. He said he may have the day off by a day or two. What do you say about the substance, though, of what his allegation is?
It never happened. I never said the things that he attributes to me.
Did you see him walking in or out of the White House anytime after 9/11, within the days that followed?
A week later, on the morning of the 19th, I was leaving the White House. He came into the White House. We didn't converse at all.
You didn't say anything to him?
Nothing.
You didn't say anything along the lines, Iraq has to pay the price for what happened yesterday?
No, it was all, first of all, I would not have said yesterday. He gives the appearance in his book of recalling with great precision. He says, for example, he was thinking on this of all days, the day after. He's just got it completely wrong. I never believed that Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11, and by the time I returned to the U.S., it was pretty clear that it was bin Laden. Indeed, bin Laden was claiming credit.
You were on CNN's program, here on CNN on September 16th. A few days later, shortly after you returned from France, you got back, what, the 15th. Here's what you said on that day. I'm going to play that little clip.
Even if we cannot prove to the standards that we enjoy in our own civil society that they were involved, we do know, for example, that Saddam Hussein has ties to Osama bin Laden. That can be documented.
All right, so what was the point you were trying to make then? Because it sounds as if you were already thinking that Saddam Hussein had to go as a result of 9/11.
Well, I had been in favor of removing Saddam for a long time before 9/11 because it seemed to me he posed a danger to the United States. And the sense of the danger he posed was made far more acute by 9/11 because we discovered on 9/11 that we had waited too long to deal with a known threat, with Osama bin Laden, with al-Qaeda. You know, we had been watching al-Qaeda preparing an attack on the United States, and we did nothing.
But the relationship that we now know, at least the U.S. intelligence community, other experts, has suggested that the relationship, if any, between Saddam Hussein and al-Qaeda was very, very limited. Certainly no coordination or anything along those lines.
There was a relationship. It has not only been documented, as I said in that clip, but George Tenet himself has written a letter that indicates.
I spoke to him about that letter, and he said that letter he wrote to the Senate Intelligence Committee was sloppy, and he should have been more precise.
Well, he is indeed sloppy by nature, and the failure properly to account for his run-in with me is a good example of it. He simply makes up things that I never said to him, places them on a date when I wasn't in the country. And the book is riddled with inaccuracies.
Have you gone through the book yourself?
Bits and pieces.
But you've looked through the references to Richard Pearl.
I did.
And are there other blunders, other mistakes he makes referring to you?
Well, he actually refers to the meeting a second time. It seems to me very clear he's uncomfortable, as he should be, with the failure not only to anticipate 9/11 specifically, but the failure to understand the extent of the terrorist threat. And so he wants to shift responsibility.
I guess what he's trying to suggest is that you were among those, as you acknowledge, pushing to remove Saddam Hussein, even before 9/11. And given what's happened over these past 4 years, the question is, was that a blunder? Should the U.S. simply have allowed Saddam to be contained in his box, in Iraq, where he posed a significant threat to his own people, but not necessarily to anyone outside of Iraq.
You know, you can't replay history and judge today what Saddam might have done had he been left alone. It's easy to say he was in his box, but the sanctions that kept him in that box were very fragile and would not have survived. But at least I don't believe they would.
Richard, given what we know now, obviously 4 years later, we're all a lot smarter. Are you sorry that you had that sense, that drive to go into remove Saddam through military might?
Well, I'm sorry that after removing Saddam, we did not hand things back to the Iraqis. I'm sorry that we embarked on an occupation that became the basis for an insurgency against us. I think the right thing to have done, and I said it at the time, was to hand things to the Iraqis as soon as Saddam was removed from office.
Who bears responsibility for that blunder?
Well, ultimately, the decision maker in this democracy is the President of the United States and his closest advisors. And they made the decision, I think wrongly, that we would send thousands of Americans to Iraq and try to administer that country. They did it with goodwill and good intentions. I certainly don't fault them for that. But it was politically inept, and I think it contributed to the situation we're in today.
Richard Pearl, thanks for coming in.
It's always a pleasure.
And still ahead here in the Situation Room, a bonus question. Do Veterans Affairs officials deserve a big payoff? Jack Cafferty with your email. That's coming up. And the ferret that could come back to haunt Republican presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani. Jeannie Mose here to show us what that story is all about. We'll be right back.
If we all lived here, we wouldn't have to worry about what's in our water. But most of us live here. So we need the Brita Pitcher. Its filter removes 98% of lead and reduces chlorine flavor and copper. So even if you don't live here, you can still have healthier, clean-tasting water.
Now get great-tasting water from your refrigerator with refrigerator filters from Brita.
Douglas, from the conference.
James Anderson.
Oh, yeah, yesterday, yeah.
That's a lot of grain.
What kind of bird is it?
What is that? I don't know. It's okay, guys. I've done a course. What? Positive thinking. Positive thought makes a positive impact. Okay? Positive thought has a positive impact. Look at me. That's right, okay. Come on.
Talk is no substitute for action.
That's the power.
Make it happen. The Royal Bank of Scotland Group.
I am good.
Yes, you are.
Introducing the 2007 Cadillac CTS Bose Edition, complete with sunroof, Bose sound system, 3.6-liter engine, and wood and leather trim. It's everything you need now to play at full volume. See your local Cadillac dealer for this amazing offer.
Head on. Apply directly to...
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead. Head on. Apply... Head on. I hate your commercial, but I love your product.
Head on is available without a prescription. Active-On Ultra Strength Backache. Apply directly where it hurts. Active-On. Safe and effective pain relief. Active-On Ultra Strength Backache. In stores now. Introducing First On. Itchy skin? First On. Apply directly where it itches. First On. Maximum strength itch relief. Available at Walgreens, CVS Pharmacy, and Rite Aid.
CNN Saturday Night.
Experience the moments that define pop culture through the eyes of the king.
Larry King, 50 years of pop culture. CNN Saturday Night, 9 Eastern. Sponsored by the Commit Lozenge. Real help, real hope.
This is truly a shocking story. A $65 million lawsuit over a missing pair of pants. We're not making this up. Just about everyone agrees it's a totally frivolous lawsuit, but it's real nonetheless, and it's really threatening the American dream of an immigrant family. Let's go back to Carol Costello. She's here in Washington. What exactly is at stake here for this family, Carol?
Oh, Wolf, they could lose everything. You know, we've all been there. It can make you really mad if your dry cleaner loses your favorite whatever. But come on, is anybody's anger worth a cool 65 mil? Meet the Chungs, immigrants from South Korea who've built a successful business in just 7 years and are now on the brink of losing it all.
They immigrated here with hopes of achieving the American dream. It's turned into an American nightmare.
The Chung's nightmare has become not just the talk of the town, but talk across the globe. A nightmare, yes. How many of us can say we're the alleged victims of a pair of pants? Take a look. They could cost the Chungs $65 million.
It's incredibly stressful for them, both physically and emotionally. They don't understand how one pair of pants can somehow grow into what this has become.
And he says they don't know why Roy Pearson, a judge in D.C., would be so upset over a missing pair of pants that he would file a lawsuit. It all started in 2005 when the Chungs lost and then a few weeks later said they found Pearson's pants. You'd think it would end there. But according to Manning, Pearson claimed these pants are not his.
My clients know for a fact that they are his. There are some very significant markings on the pants. Specifically, there are 3 belt loops, one after the other, that my clients remembered whenever Mr. Pearson had brought the pants in originally.
But he says Pearson denied that. The Chungs made him 3 settlement offers, $3,000, then $4,600, then $12,000. Pearson said no. Then added a twist that's inspired news stories and blogs from Washington to New Zealand. He now claims he has to drive to a dry cleaner's farther away from his home, so he threw in the cost to rent a car every weekend for 10 years, then factored in fines of $1,500 per violation per day. That's the penalty imposed for offenses of D.C.'s consumer protection law. He multiplied that by 3 people who own custom cleaners. Grand total, $65 million.
I think everyone is baffled by the point that he's trying to make.
And Pearson isn't talking. His attorney did not return our calls. The Chungs left so frightened at their future, they're pondering a move back to South Korea to start all over again. Chungs didn't talk with me on camera because they speak very little English. Judge Pearson, the man suing, is now the target of the American Tort Reform Association. They say Pearson's suit raises serious questions about his judgment and judicial temperament, and they wonder, Wolf, if he is really fit to be a judge at all.
I think a lot of people are wondering about this predicament. Thanks very much, Carol, for that. A really shocking story. Of course, frivolous lawsuits are nothing new. Among some of the most unusual cases we found, a Virginia inmate who sued himself for $5 million, get this, for getting drunk and committing crimes. He claimed he violated his own civil rights, but he wanted the state to pay it because he was a ward of the prison system and couldn't work. Then there's the FBI agent in Nevada who crashed his truck while drunk, in fact, 3 times over the limit. He sued the manufacturer and the dealer, saying the truck malfunctioned and filled with heavy smoke as he passed out. And then there's this, the Oregon man who actually sued Michael Jordan and Nike's founder for defamation, claiming he looks just like Michael Jordan and was tired of being mistaken for the basketball star. That despite the fact that he's 8 years older, 3 inches shorter, 25 pounds lighter. Coming up, the man known as the Godfather of Soul would have been turning 74 this weekend. James Brown, of course, died last year. But the social impact of his life in music lives on and will be the focus of a CNN Special Investigations Unit piece this weekend. Here's CNN's Don Lemon.
The James Brown of the late 60s was a man with a message.
Don't be a dropout. Stay in school now.
From a nobody who dropped out of school in the 7th grade to the somebody he always said he would be, standing side by side with Vice President Hubert Humphrey, encouraging kids to stay in school.
And you won't be able to do nothing unless you have a good education.
Mr. Brown had a talent that until this day has been unequal for any politician. People listen to him. He could talk to the masses.
And talk he did. In April 1968, in the wake of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, cities around the country erupted in violence. The day after King's death, Brown was scheduled to perform in Boston, but city leaders feared he might stir up more trouble.
The mayor of Boston, Kevin White, was under some pressure to cancel it, but after some tense negotiations in the limo from the airport on the way to the Garden, arrangements were made for WGBH there in Boston to broadcast the concert live to try to keep people home and off the streets.
All of us are here tonight to listen to a great talent, James Brown.
The atmosphere that night was tense. Towards the end of the concert, many in the audience rushed the stage. Then the police jumped in.
Move on, I'll be all right. I'll be fine.
Brown, unfazed, kept the peace.
We're black. Don't make us all look bad. Let me finish doing the show. Come on the stage.
After the Boston concert, it became clear James Brown had sway with blacks, so-called street cred. It became more apparent in the riot-fueled summer of '68. After performing in Los Angeles, back in his hotel room, James Brown saw a disturbing news report about black-on-black crime. It became inspiration.
He said, come to my room, I want to show you something. So I walked up to his room, and when I went in his room, laying on the desk on 2 napkins was, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud."
Just 40 hours later, the song hit the airwaves and struck a nerve. It was finally okay for black people to say,
And CNN's Don Lemon hosts the CNN Special Investigations Unit program that documents James Brown's truly remarkable life, his legacy. James Brown, Say It Loud, airs over the weekend at these times, Saturday and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Still have Jack Cafferty with your email on our question of the hour. What kind of bonuses do Veterans Affairs officials deserve? Jack standing by with the Cafferty file. And this note coming up in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, explosive allegations by a British official and Iraq expert. He calls the run-up to the war, and I'm quoting now, a gross exaggeration. Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
Hey, wait, 4-door.
If only you could get more done in less time. Fortunately, Walgreens has Express Pay for prescriptions. Sign up, and once your payment information is securely on file, just pick up your prescription and go.
Why aren't middle-class wages going up? Why does it take 2 incomes just to get by?
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for Answer.
Don't miss Comcast Family Feast Fridays this season at PGE Park.
I've been waiting for so long, now I finally found someone to stand by me. We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy. Listen, baby, I've had the time of my life.
Get more for less this month only. Sandals once-a-year sale at half off. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
For exciting offers at Beaverton Lincoln Mercury, here's Joe Coruscani.
If it's affordable luxury you want, you'll find it here at Beaverton Lincoln Mercury.
Like the 06 Mark LT 4x4 fully loaded, $15,000 off MSRP. Or the 06 Navigator all-round driving comfort and $17,500 off MSRP. And come see the all-new 2007 Lincoln MKX.
And remember, every new car comes with a lifetime oil change.
Experience excellence at Beaverton Lincoln Mercury, Southwest Canyon Road.
Fiber optics.
It's the reason Comcast digital cable is even better with on-demand. And Comcast high-speed internet is faster than ever. Now we've used this technology to bring you the first real choice in home phone service on our own private fiber optic network, monitored 24/7 for reliability. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice with unlimited nationwide calling, 12 calling features, and voicemail for just $33 a month for up to 12 months. Call 1-800-COMCAST today.
James Brown, The Real Story. CNN, Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Lou Dobbs getting ready for his program that begins right at the top of the hour. What are you working on, Lou?
Well, thank you. Tonight we're working on rising outrage over a Democratic proposal that would use scarce intelligence funds to study the impact of global warming. We'll have that live report for you from Washington. Also, dangerous imports from communist China putting the lives of American children at risk. The federal government doing almost nothing about that. We'll have a special report on the grandmother who showed the federal government how to do its job properly. And our national crisis over drug addiction and crime. One district attorney has come up with an innovative solution that doesn't involve prison, and it works. We'll have that report for you. And among my guests tonight, a leading member of the Martin Luther King Foundation, responsible for the Martin Luther King Memorial. He'll be here to explain why that foundation chose a communist Chinese artist to build a memorial to Martin Luther King in Chinese granite, among other things. Please join us for all of that. All the day's news coming up at the top of the hour. Wolf, back to you.
And, you know, they've been promoting it, Lou. 60 Minutes is going to do a feature on you this Sunday night.
Oh, no!
Yes, Leslie Stahl is going to be talking to Lou Dobbs. What's it like? What does it feel like to know that you're going to be featured on 60 Minutes?
Have you ever been to the dentist and he doesn't have Novocaine?
Yes, I have.
Or she? The fact of the matter is they've been working on this for months. And, you know, as the saying goes, if it weren't for the honor of the thing, referring to public hangings, no, I think that, you know, it's a wonderful news organization. Let me say as many nice things about 60 Minutes as I possibly can, and Leslie Stahl and her wonderful producers. Before it airs, when we talk Monday, I might not be feeling the same way, but they're wonderful journalists, as you know, and they're probably going to kick me in the butt, but that's all right. That's what they do, and they'll do it in a first-class way.
Comes with the territory. We'll get your review Monday morning. Lou, thanks very much.
Thanks, Will.
I know that Jack Cafferty's a big fan of yours. He's standing by to tell us that he's going to be interested in this piece, too, on 60 Minutes.
Oh,
right,
absolutely. I read the press release that they put out, a lot of Lou's quotes in there, and if the press release is any indication, it looks like they're going to do a fair job of representing Mr. Dobbs and his contribution to CNN and the country. I'm looking forward to seeing the piece. The question this hour is what kind of bonuses you can't even say this stuff. What kind of bonuses do Veterans Affairs officials deserve? They have a backlog of cases estimated at 600,000. The average returning veteran waits 177 days to get his disability treatment, and they're handing out bonuses to these clowns. Jack writes, I'm a disabled veteran. I get no real help from the VA. I guess my help went into the $3.8 million for their bonuses. I guess 22 years wasn't good enough, and the sacrifices that I and my family made weren't good enough either. David writes, how many employees do you suppose they could have hired to help clear up that backlog with the $3.8 million they spend on bonuses? Mike in Boston, I'm so angry at what I just heard, it might take 177 days for me to calm down. As an unapologetic peacenik, I suggest they be given a weapon and sent to war for a double tour of duty. Then put the injured vets in charge of the chicken coop and give them the money. My God, what horror. I'm off to call my senator. What an outrage. Kelly in St. Louis, 1997, I enrolled at the VA for medical care. After presenting my discharge papers, I was given a photo ID card. I saw a doctor and was given appointments with 2 specialists. This took a total of 45 minutes. Today it takes 6 months. What happened? Richard in Syracuse, New York. What's less than $0? That's what they deserve. I'm a disabled vet who had to fight for over 8 years to get any help. It took Senator Clinton sending one letter asking to be kept informed before I got my disability that no less than 3 VA doctors said I needed. They deserve nothing. And John in Bethany Beach, Delaware, my proposal, put the bonus money in briefcases and hide them in the patients' rooms at Walter Reed. That way they can meet our veterans in person and hear what a bang-up job they're doing. If you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty file. We post more of them online along with video clips of the Cafferty file. Wolf?
Jack, thank you for that. Coming up next, you may call it a pet peeve. See why remarks by Rudy Giuliani nearly a decade ago about ferrets are now being used against him. Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
Country, you're one of the most successful communities.
There's fear always in life, of trepidation, what's on the other side of the wall, or should I do this, or should I not do this, or what's going to happen, and it's just the right move. The reality is you have to be willing to fall, but you just have to make sure that you fall forward.
Homeowners, want to refinance and get cash? Countrywide has a great reason to do it now. A no-cost refi. It has no points, no application fee, no credit reporting fee, and no third-party fees, no title, escrow, or appraisal fees. Absolutely no closing costs, so you'll wind up with a lot more cash. Call now and ask for a no-cost refi. We're America's #1 home loan lender, and no one can do what Countrywide can.
Call 1-800-641-0787.
Major combat operations in Iraq have ended.
4 years later, there's no end in sight. And George Bush still won't face reality. Congress voted to start bringing our troops home, but the president vetoed the bill. He was wrong then, and he's wrong now. It's the will of one nation versus the stubbornness of one man. Mr. President, you can veto a bill, but you can't veto the truth.
Any global accounting organization needs to keep a sharp eye on the financial environment. Listen carefully to your needs and goals, and think long and hard about your business. But what distinguishes the accountants at Grant Thornton is their passion for the business of accounting. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting.
Coming up, fodder from the campaign trail. What does Rudy Giuliani have against ferret owners, and what do they have against him? Jeannie Most standing by with a report. We'll be right back.
So he sent me the most beautiful bouquet ever. What'd the card say? Only something beautiful for my something beautiful. Oh, that's so sweet. I know. Everyone here has been joking. He must have done something really bad. You don't think... you don't think he could have... Oh...
Singular is now the new AT&T. Your world delivered. And get Mom a red pearl for Mother's Day.
If you want to quit smoking, today's your day. Commit Cherry Lozenges, the tasty way to quit smoking.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Asper Cream, odor-free, fast pain relief. Can an odor-free cream stand up to your back pain?
You bet if it's Asper Cream.
Maximum strength and odor-free. Arthritis pain stopped?
You bet if it's Asper Cream.
Rudy Giuliani had to know when he decided to run for president, people would try to dig up dirt from his past. That, of course, comes with the territory. But even he might be surprised about a tape that's now resurfaced. CNN's Jeannie Most has a most unusual look at what Giuliani's critics have ferreted out.
Ferrets have a habit of crawling anywhere.
She'll work her way all the way up the sleeve if she's given a chance. Oh, yeah.
But this must be the first time they've worked their way into a presidential race. Blame it on the blogs. Rudy Giuliani's ferret freakout, says one. Ferret fighter-in-chief, says another. And though the liberal Huffington Post says just in, this story was just in some 8 years ago, when Rudy Giuliani had a dust-up with a ferret lover on the then-mayor's radio call-in show.
There's something deranged about you.
No, there isn't, sir.
There's the excessive concern that you have for ferrets is something you should examine with a therapist.
You never took the mayor's advice. You never got any therapy.
Why would I? I'm sane.
David Goodhart's is pretty fanatic about ferrets. He created the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Ferrets.
Attention, please. This car
He attended public hearings with a stuffed ferret. He made a habit of calling up officials trying to get New York City's ban on ferrets overturned. And he made one call too many to the mayor.
Please. Don't insulting me again.
I'm not insulting. I'm being honest with you. Maybe nobody in your life has ever been honest with you. But this excessive...
I happen to be more sane than you.
All these years later, the tape of that phone call is being recirculated, mainly by Giuliani critics who want everyone to hear a different side of the mayor, who ended up hanging up on good hearts.
There is
Giuliani.
David,
Rudy,
this conversation is over, David. Thank you. There is something really, really very sad about you. You need help.
Rudy Giuliani has classic signs of a Napoleonic complex. That's what a maniacal person is.
The Giuliani campaign wouldn't comment on the resurrection of the 8-year-old tape. Could a ferret come back from the past to bite Rudy Giuliani? Or me? Some bloggers have come to Giuliani's defense. There was something tremendously appealing about Rudy's refusal to coddle New York's large population of weirdos. I mean, with your hat and your look, you could come across as kind of eccentric.
No, not in the least bit. I mean, I do have a unique look.
So do ferrets. In this case, I don't think it would be the issue of the actual, she likes hair.
Oh, yeah.
One result of Ferretgate.
This excessive concern with little weasels is a sickness.
Giuliani can forget the ferret vote. Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
What a story. We're here weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back in 1 hour at 7 p.m. Eastern. Much more of the Situation Room coming up. Don't forget this Sunday on Late Edition, The Last Word in Sunday Talk. Among my guests, Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Richard Lugar. Late Edition airs for 2 hours, Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's it for me for this hour. See you at 7. Let's go to Lou in New York. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf. Tonight, outrage over a Democratic proposal to use scarce federal intelligence funds to study the national security impact of global warming. Will that study divert attention from the war against radical Islamist terrorism? We'll have a special report also tonight. Dangerous imports from communist China putting the lives of our children at risk. The federal government is taking little or no action. We'll have a special report on the grandmother who showed the federal government how to do its job. At our national crisis over drug addiction and crime, a district attorney tonight has an innovative solution that doesn't involve prison, and it works. We'll have that report. And among my guests tonight, a leading member of the Martin Luther King Foundation, David Hamilton. He's here to explain why that foundation chose a Chinese artist to build a memorial to Martin Luther King in Chinese granite. What in the world are they thinking? And the thought police, well, they're on patrol in a dangerous threat to freedom of expression, artistic creativity, freedom of speech. We'll have that story. All of that and a great deal more, all the day's news, straight ahead here tonight.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Friday, May 4th. Live from New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. Republicans tonight accusing Democrats of jeopardizing the war on terror by demanding a study on the effects of global warming on military operations. Democrats, however, say global warming could increase the number of threats to this country all over the world. Meanwhile, new evidence tonight that the military is near the breaking point because of the wars in both Iraq and Afghanistan. A new study showing up to half our troops are suffering from mental problems because of the stress of combat. Lisa Sylvester reports on the outrage over the use of intelligence funds to study the impact of global warming. Jamie McIntyre reporting tonight on the rising levels of psychiatric problems among our troops. And Bill Snyder reporting on the impact of the political battle over the conduct of the war on presidential candidates of both parties. We turn first tonight to Lisa Sylvester in Washington. Lisa?
Lou, the 2008 House Intelligence Authorization Bill is the largest ever approved by the committee, an estimated $44 billion. It includes more money to send analysts overseas, calls for quarterly intelligence updates on the Iranian and North Korean nuclear programs, and includes a proposal to study the effects of global warming on national security. It's this last provision that's drawing heat from Republican lawmakers. They're complaining a formal national intelligence estimate on global warming would divert scarce intelligence resources to study what they call a politically correct issue. Ranking member Pete Hoekstra in a statement said, quote, Republicans have worked hard with committee Democrats to craft an intelligence authorization bill that strengthens our capabilities against terrorists, rogue nations, and foreign enemies. Unfortunately, the bill passed by the committee includes several questionable items that are outside of the intelligence community's national security focus and weaken our nation's overall intelligence effort, end quote. Now, at a time when the United States has pressing national security concerns such as terrorism, Iran, and North Korea, Republicans question, is this study really necessary, especially since there are other agencies capable of reviewing the issue, including the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, Democrats, led by Committee Chair Representative Sylvester Reyes, say military commanders believe climate change could create instability in the world and have an impact on future military operations, enough so that it warrants further study. And we should say that Democrats also deny that the study would take away intelligence resources. This issue now is going to the full House. It has passed committee. It's now on the way to the full House. Lou?
Thank you very much, Lisa. Lisa Sylvester. I'm just sitting here thinking about Washington and how much I love that city. Thank you very much. The Bush administration tonight facing new questions about the direction of our foreign policy. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice had made plans to meet with Iran's foreign minister at a conference being held in Egypt, but her plans falling apart at the last minute. Iran, of course, helping insurgents in Iraq kill our troops. Zain Verji now reports from Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
A lady in red. Did she get in the way of some potential breakthrough diplomacy between the United States and Iran? At a closed-door dinner in Egypt, Iran's foreign minister fled the room just before Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice arrived, dashing her plans for a bit of conversation.
You could ask him why he didn't make an effort. Look, I'm not given to chasing anyone.
We did.
Because some technical issues, I could not attend there.
Others told us Manucher Mottaki was offended by a Russian violinist in a sexy red dress. Rice's spokesman wasn't convinced. He said, I'm not sure which woman he was afraid of, the woman in the red dress or the Secretary of State. Officials from the two sides finally sat down together. Their chit-chat lasted a mere 3 minutes.
We are not looking for some kind of demonstration. We are not looking for some kind of show, you know. We are not looking to talks just for talks.
Mottaki told CNN he thinks Rice wants better relations with Iran.
We see some changes in words, and we hope these words be translated in practice.
Iraq's foreign minister says the proxy war between Iran and the United States is bad for his country, and it's time for the two to talk.
It is in my country's interest really to see a reduction of this tension.
That's why the U.S. is reaching out.
The United States has no desire to have anything contribute to a more difficult set of circumstances for Iraq.
Secretary Rice says this week's conference was a breakthrough because for once, everyone, including the United States and Iran, were on the same side. Iraq's Zain Verji, CNN, Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
Well, insurgents in Iraq have killed 5 more of our troops over the past 2 days. 3 of our soldiers killed in the Baghdad area. 2 in Al Anbar province west of Baghdad. 9 of our troops have been killed in Iraq so far this month. 3,360 of our troops since the beginning of the war killed. 25,090 of our troops wounded, 11,215 of them seriously. Startling new evidence tonight about the impact of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan on the health of our troops. A major new study finds that up to 50% of our troops are now suffering from psychiatric problems. And that's raising new questions about whether our Army and Marine Corps are simply broken because of the demands being placed upon them. Jamie McIntyre reports from the Pentagon.
Anger, fear, paranoia, sleep disorders. Iraq veteran Joe Wheeler knows all the telltale signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. He lives it.
My main nightmare is voluntarily enlisting in the Army again and being sent back to Iraq. When I'm driving down the road, I'm looking, constantly searching to make sure that there's no IEDs. You know, you find yourself doing these things.
A new Army study of frontline combat units in Iraq confirms Specialist Wheeler is far from alone, showing that nearly half of all National Guard troops, close to 40% of active duty soldiers, and almost a third of Marines report psychological problems. A key finding, Marines suffer less because their tours are shorter, 7 months compared to a year or more for Army troops.
The level of combat is the main determinant of a soldier's or Marine's mental health status.
The finding comes as the Army has just extended basic tours to 15 months with 1 year off. The study suggests battle-weary troops really need at least 18 months to 3 years to recover. But the groundbreaking part of the study focused on battlefield ethics, for the first time ever asking 1,300 soldiers and 450 Marines their attitudes about torture and abuse.
They looked under every rock, and what they found was not always easy to look at.
Among the findings, only 47% of soldiers and 38% of Marines agreed that non-combatants should be treated with dignity and respect. 10% of soldiers reported mistreating non-combatants or damaging their property. Fewer than half of soldiers and Marines said they would report a team member for unethical behavior. And more than 1/3 of all soldiers and Marines said they thought torture should be allowed to save the life of a comrade. That's what they say, but the Army says not what they do.
What it speaks to is the leadership that the military is providing, because they're not acting on those thoughts. They're not torturing the people.
So what's the answer, Lou? Well, General Pollock at one point said ideally it's ending the war, but obviously that's not happening. The next step is to make the Army much bigger so that troops don't have to rotate into the war zone so soon, but that's going to take time. So for now, the answer is more training, more discipline, better leadership, and as much time off as they can get soldiers from the battlefield as possible. Lou?
Jamie, let's talk straightforwardly here. Going back to World War II, the Army understood that putting combat troops on the line for a year was simply impossible, that in the grinding pressure and stress, the lethality of combat, that it couldn't be done, and they had to be withdrawn in order to get ready to go again, to recover, to go through R&R. That's not being done with our troops today, 60 years later, and they have the temerity to say this is the first time they have done this kind of psychological testing. I will tell you straightforwardly, they're lying through their teeth. We've known this since World War II.
Well, just to be clear, the part that was new that they had never asked them before was about their ethics and how they felt about things like torture and their attitudes
Jamie,
for that.
Do you know what? When I heard that woman say that it was a statement to the leadership of the United States military that these soldiers and these Marines are not acting on these thoughts, it was a great testament to leadership. It is exactly the opposite. This leadership is putting our men and women, the finest young people we've ever put in uniform, into absolutely impossible situations and then taking credit for them not living out their statements on some sort of bureaucratic psychiatric form. I mean, that is despicable.
Well, what she was saying there is that it's certainly understandable that people who are on the battlefield facing an enemy that's trying to kill them in the most brutal way would have thoughts about torture or whatever.
So how in the world can the leadership in that building in which you sit there and compliment themselves and those officers while they're extending their tours to 15 months and putting them in the most impossible of situations?
Well, what they're saying is despite all of that pressure, they're still performing very well. Most soldiers are not.
But that's a credit to our soldiers and our Marines in the field and not to the leadership, either civilian or military, particularly the general staff, in my opinion.
I will leave it to you to assign
I just
credit.
did, partner.
All
Jamie,
right.
thank you very much. Jamie McIntyre from the Pentagon. The White House tonight is accusing Democrats of using the political showdown over the conduct of this war to help the party's presidential candidates. Imagine that, politics at play. Congressional Democrats in the White House remain, of course, deadlocked over the war funding bill. One reason, the hardening positions on the war by presidential candidates in both political parties, as Bill Schneider now reports.
President Bush's veto of the Iraq funding bill generates powerful pressure for the two parties in Congress to come together. Democrats acknowledge it.
It's incumbent upon us to work together. I don't even think it's a question of backing down. It's a question of recognizing reality.
Republicans acknowledge it too.
I hope my Democrat colleagues will do the right thing. Republicans are here to work with them. If they're willing to do the right things, Republicans will be there to support them to get a new bill to the White House.
Presidential candidates face different pressures.
Are they going to be pragmatic? Are they going to talk about compromise? Or are they going to play to the base?
In Congress, the pressure is to make a deal. In the campaign, the pressure is to stand firm. Hillary Clinton has gone from explaining her vote to authorize the war,
if I knew then what I now know, I would not have voted that way,
to pressuring Congress to reverse it.
It is time to sunset the authorization for the war in Iraq.
John Edwards' first TV ad urges congressional Democrats not to compromise.
Don't back down to President Bush. Send him the same bill again and again.
Republican candidates warned of the consequences of getting out of Iraq too soon.
Rather than simply walking away and leaving the Middle East in a complete disastrous chaos that will spread to the region and to the rest of the world, it's important that we finish the job.
The direst possible consequences.
If we withdraw, there will be chaos, there will be genocide, and they will follow us home.
The legislative process pushes the party together, both of the parties, that is, and the campaign pulls them apart, which puts a lot of pressure on 5 of the 7 Democratic contenders and 5 of the 10 Republicans, because they're not just running for president, they also have a day job. They're also members of Congress. Lou?
And Bill, we certainly wouldn't want to put any pressure on the little darlings, would we?
No, indeed.
Are we going to see some real, honest, straightforward positions taken on illegal immigration, the war in Iraq, national health care, public education, a crumbling infrastructure? When do we get past this nonsense?
Well, we've got about a year of this campaign. It's almost a 2-year-long campaign.
You got me all excited, Bill, with that answer.
Right. So eventually, I'm sure they'll have to talk about those things.
One would hope. One would hope. Thank you very much, Bill Snyder.
Sure.
Coming up next, confusion and contradictions in the so-called comprehensive immigration reform policy, and also U.S. immigration policy, and maybe a little conflict as it applies to Cubans and to Haitians. At least I think so. Also, dangerous imports flooding into this country from communist China. The federal government doesn't seem altogether that bothered. One grandmother giving the federal government instruction, taking them to school on how to do their job. And thank goodness. And the FBI has joined the investigation into police tactics at the end of a pro-amnesty rally in Los Angeles May 1st. Did some LAPD officers use excessive force? Were they provoked by anarchists rather than demonstrators? We'll have that story, a great deal more, straight ahead. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
Now through Saturday at Joseph A. Bay. Handcrafted sport coats, $97. All poplin and seersucker suits, only $97. Even signature suits, regularly $695, now $277. Plus, there's much more. Every cashmere sweater, $77. And all silk sweaters and Ledbetter golf pants, $27. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Saturday.
It fuels our lives and creates the products we depend on. It powers our workforce. It brings us home and gives us warmth. It lets us travel the earth and reach for the sky. Vital for life, too precious to waste. Oil and natural gas. Together, let's use it wisely. Learn more at energytomorrow.org.
This is Bailey, our first successful reattachment. In recent months, we've been able to reattach thousands of lucky rabbits' feet to their original owners.
Thankfully, people everywhere have realized that you don't need luck, as long as you've got the right insurance.
But now rabbits like this can lead full and productive lives. Thank you, science. Thank you, Travelers Insurance. Thank you, Bailey.
Travelers. Insurance in sync.
Osteo Biflex, the #1 doctor-recommended joint care brand.
My doctor recommended I take Osteo Biflex, and it's great. I'm an active guy. I play basketball once a week. I play softball, and I run around with the kids.
The glucosamine and chondroitin, as found in Osteo Biflex, actually lubricates and cushions your joints. And only Osteo Biflex has Joint Shield with 5-Loxin. Taking 5-Loxin showed improvement in joint comfort within 7 days.
I would highly recommend Osteo Biflex to anyone.
Available wherever quality vitamins and supplements are sold.
CNN Tonight.
He's one of a kind.
Ready for the all-star toast to Larry King?
I want to congratulate you, Larry.
You won't believe what happens.
Appreciate your hard work.
Bill Maher hosts.
He wants the money.
A special Larry King Live. CNN tonight, 9 Eastern.
At least 20 people are dead. More than 60 others are missing tonight after a small boat from Haiti capsized in shark-infested waters. The U.S. Coast Guard says that boat overturned while being towed by a police boat near the islands of Turks and Caicos. Officials say the 25-foot boat was carrying 150 Haitians and was headed to the United States. If those Haitians had reached American soil, they would have been turned back or detained. Another example of this country's just completely confused and inexplicable immigration policy. Cuban nationals are allowed to remain in this country if they reach American soil. Haitians are not. The FBI has joined the investigation into the violence at Tuesday's pro-amnesty rally in Los Angeles, and the city's mayor has returned home, cutting short his trip to Mexico to deal with what is growing outrage over that incident. Police officers fired rubber bullets. They used batons trying to disperse some of the crowd at the end of that otherwise peaceful rally. The crowd was at MacArthur Park. Some officers said they were there pelted with stones and other debris. Rally organizers called the police actions brutal. Several people were injured. None were injured seriously. But there were claims by some of the organizers and the police that anarchists were the ones involved in that violence, anarchists with no connection whatsoever to the pro-amnesty rally, and obviously with an agenda of their own. Both sides in Congress tonight are continuing negotiations over so-called immigration reform legislation that would in effect give amnesty to millions of illegal aliens in this country. And some lawmakers are trying a different approach for those trying to enter the country legally. As Lisa Sylvester now reports, one proposal would create a merit system. Imagine that, a merit system for immigrants to earn U.S. citizenship.
The United States hands out more than 1 million green cards every year. The majority, 58%, are granted based on family ties. But some lawmakers say skills and merit should be the deciding factors. Senator Jeff Sessions gives an example of 2 men from Honduras.
One is a valedictorian who took English in high school, took advantage of radio or television to learn English and speak it well, maybe has a year or so of technical school. That individual would have no chance of coming and would be competitively at a total disadvantage to a high school dropout who happened to be the brother of someone who's a citizen of the United States.
Senator Sessions has proposed a merit-based program as a fix to the nation's broken immigration system. Applicants would be given points based on criteria, including education, English proficiency, and work history. Canada, Australia, and the UK all have adopted point systems. British applicants are scored on a 100-point scale. There they have to earn at least 75 points, pass an English fluency test, and agree not to rely on public assistance. The system is structured so that jobs are not taken away from citizens and immigrants are not a financial drain. Some economists say that's not the case in the United States.
Over the last 20 years or so, the United States has imported about 11 million people without a high school degree through both the legal and illegal immigration channels.
But critics worry underemphasizing family ties will hurt the poor.
To me, demeans individuals who are coming as laborers, who have come in years past, who then rose up the if you will, both the intellectual and economic ladder.
Under the Sessions proposal, spouses and dependent children would be allowed in as well, but extended family would not be given an automatic path, putting an end to the current practice known as chain migration.
The points idea is gaining momentum on Capitol Hill. Senator Chuck Hagel has introduced legislation that would apply to the 12 million plus illegal aliens in the United States. Instead of letting them all stay, they would be ranked by points to decide who receives a green card and eventually citizenship. Lou?
Perhaps this is the beginning of rationality beginning to settle in as a possibility with the elected officials in Washington, both the Senate and the House, but it is only that a beginning. It is fascinating to look at what, and as we have been reporting here for some time, the immigration policies of nations around the world and compare them to the United States, and to hear Sheila Jackson Lee, the Congresswoman, suggest that this is anti-poverty. When you look at the number of immigrants that we bring into this country lawfully, it's absurd.
It is true, and we have reported on this, that the United States has the most generous immigration system in the world. You stack it up against the UK and the Australia. They have English fluency exams. They want people to make sure they're not on public assistance. They have very strict requirements, and in the United States, it looks like we just sort of open the door.
And everyone who is honest on this issue knows that if we strip away public assistance from illegal immigration into this country, from those who are immigrating here illegally, you're going to see a marked downturn in that illegal immigration, and very, very quickly. It's complicated, but it's at least nice to see the beginnings, at least the glimmer of rationality in that fair city of yours, Lisa, Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, Lisa Sylvester. Time now for some of your thoughts. Anthony in Pennsylvania. I'm a student at Hazleton High School, and I would like to thank you for showing support for the steps this city is trying to take against illegal immigration. People need to realize that when they come to a country, they need to do it legally and assimilate to become a citizen, just like everybody else did for 230 years, referring to our town hall meeting that we held in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, at the campus of Penn State Hazleton. But Christine in Pennsylvania with a little disagreement. Your show from Hazleton, Pennsylvania was biased and non-objective for the viewers. I was surprised how much your personal feelings and opinions sided with Mayor Lou Barletta. The amount of bigotry, closed-mindedness, and prejudice shown against the Hispanic community is an outrage. I didn't see the show as fair and balanced at all. And Beatrice in Florida, supporting Hazleton. You've opened my eyes, and I've sent a nice donation to Hazleton, Pennsylvania. I hope and pray for justice to the legal Americans. It's time our government is not controlled by criminals and stands up for American citizens. We'll have more of your thoughts here later in the broadcast. And if you want to donate to Hazleton's Defense Fund, a raid against a host of national organizations, please go to smalltowndefenders.com for more details. That's smalltowndefenders.com. Coming up next, our distinguished panel of political analysts and strategists join me. And among their concerns tonight, the Senate debate on illegal immigration, the deadlock over war spending. And with all the resources of the federal government, you'll be amazed who discovered high-lead content in baby bibs from communist China sold nationwide. And a controversial decision over a memorial for Dr. Martin Luther King. A decision that could add millions of dollars to its cost and marginalize the intent. I'll also have some words for those very active thought police out there who are threatening our freedom of expression, our rights to free speech, demanding so-called decency and artistic expression. They really love this slippery slope that they're trying to push a few people over. Well, I'll have a few thoughts for them to chew on. Stay with us.
Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, Iraq War Tell-All. A British diplomat spills secrets on the war. Now he's speaking out. Tonight, in The Situation.
This June, the candidates debate live on CNN. The Democrats go at it June 3rd. The Republicans battle June 5th. No holds barred. Stay with the best. CNN. Only. Howie Mandel and Deal or No Deal bring the show to Oprah.
Oprah Winfrey, deal or no deal?
Someone may be walking out with up to $100,000. Next Oprah.
Today at 4 on News Channel 8.
Tonight.
I think the company's, certainly in it for the buck.
You can come here to get a battery of medical tests. But should you? Unit 8 investigates the risks and benefits of these procedures. What you need to know to protect your health. Too many tests tonight at 5 on News Channel 8.
Feel the beat of the deep Brazilian jungle. Join us for Amazon Voyage, Vicious Fishes and Other Riches at OMSI only until May 6th. Snake down the Amazon River and learn about one of the world's most diverse waterways. Brave visitors can view live piranha. Vicious Fishes at OMSI only until May 6th. This fun bilingual exhibit is generously sponsored by Comcast. This is your last chance to experience Amazon Voyage, Vicious Fishes and Other Riches. Take an Amazon Voyage today at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry.
Larry King, 50 years of pop culture. CNN, Saturday night, 9 Eastern.
I signed up for car insurance on Progressive.com. I saved money, which was great, but they also have these local response vehicles. And if you're in an accident or need an estimate or whatever, a Progressive guy will come to you. And they're all over. I am a musician who's on the road a lot, so it's pretty cool that they'll come to me if my van, gets pummeled by adoring fans. Or if I hit a pole.
Progressive. Saving hundreds is just the beginning.
It came out of nowhere.
It's not just about reaching your goals. It's about reaching your dreams, too. HSBC Direct Online Savings grows your money at 5.05% APY, 11 times more than traditional savings accounts. Go to hsbcdirect.com. and reach your goals and your dreams faster.
On an all-new CNN Special Investigations Unit, the real story of James Brown. Jail time, family feuds, the controversial life of an American music legend, James Brown. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission spends about $83 million a year in its attempt to keep unsafe products out of the hands of consumers. But as Kitty Pilgrim now reports, the federal government could learn a thing or two about enforcing product safety from a Chicago grandmother.
This Chicago baby has one very smart grandmother. Marilyn Fuhrer grew concerned as she watched her young grandson, Jensen, gum his vinyl bib. The bib was bought at Walmart and made in China. Marilyn knew about the risks of lead in soft plastic. She had already looked at the safety of her grandchildren's lunch boxes, so she bought another lead test kit from the hardware store.
You can't be too safe with kids, right? So I tested it. And to my utter disillusionment and disbelief, I found lead.
The lead content proved 16 times as high as the government permits for paint. She sent it to a consumer group, Center for Environmental Health, who also tested and found lead. The state of Illinois stepped in and demanded a recall. Walmart agreed to a voluntary recall in Illinois and removed the bibs from store shelves nationwide. The bibs had been sold in many stores since 2004, and the federal government was nowhere to be seen.
There is no federal lead standard for children's products. There is a federal lead standard for paint, but not for children's products. We think that needs to change.
I'm embarrassed for our government that they don't have strong testing procedures in place.
Even now, the Consumer Product Safety Commission does not ban the sale of the bibs. It simply warns to be aware of cracking. But the agency stopped short of a full recall because they say that without deterioration, the risk of actual lead exposure is low. Marilyn Fuhrer is outraged.
It's like putting a lead pencil in their mouth and saying, oh, here, baby, suck on this.
So for now, it's every grandmother for herself. Now, Senator Barack Obama, along with Senators Durbin and Clinton, have proposed legislation to require the Consumer Product Safety Commission to ban any children's toy which contains lead. Now, this bill would also put the burden on U.S. importers and retailers to make sure they are not selling any Chinese products containing lead. Lou?
Well, and you notice that Kitty Pilgrim reported to you which senators are pushing this legislation. In this broadcast, we're going to tell you not only who the idiots are that are screwing this country up, but who the folks are who really care about people and are doing something to take care of them. And I've got to say, Marilyn Fuhrer is my nomination for Grandmother of the Year.
She's the best. And what a vigilant, smart woman.
And, Marilyn Fuhrer, bless her heart, I think the message is you've got to look after yourself in this country because this federal government, I mean, good Lord, it's not doing half. I will tell you, until your report, I did not know there weren't lead standards for other products. Only paint, federal lead standards to protect our kids. I mean, that's outrageous. Kitty, thank you very much. Kitty Pilgrim. Consumer experts from all around the world, including the commissioner of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, well, they're going to get together at an international product safety conference later this month. They're meeting to find ways to ensure products reaching the public are made safer. That conference is being held in Beijing. I love that. The case of a former engineer accused of being a Chinese spy could go to the jury as early as next week. The naturalized citizen took to stand in his own defense this week, insisting he wasn't a spy, didn't deliver top-secret materials and U.S. technology to Communist China's government. Casey Wine reports from the trial in Santa Ana, California.
Prosecutors began their cross-examination of accused spy Chi Mack with a dramatic attack. Assistant U.S. Attorney Gregory Staples said, "Mr. Mack, you're a liar, aren't you?" The naturalized U.S. citizen appeared stunned, then quickly answered no. Staples accused the former Power Paragon engineer of some 20 different lies in court, on immigration forms, in a security clearance application, and to federal investigators. Mack admitted some lies, perhaps damaging his credibility, but he continues to deny knowingly passing restricted military information to his Chinese homeland.
This is probably very likely. It would be entirely to be expected, quite honestly, that the intelligence communities would go after people that either they thought had sympathy for China or they could exploit.
Prosecutor Staples also asked, "Isn't it true the last 3 times you and your brother went to China, the trips were preceded by copying of classified documents or encryption of defense technology?" Mack responded, "Yes, but not related." And when questioned about copying classified documents at his workplace, Mack responded, "I never think of illegal, but now I realize was not right." Prosecutors also disclosed that Mack was discovered to have $900,000 in the bank the day he was arrested nearly 2 years ago. They say he had plans to retire in China. Casey Wyan, CNN, Santa Ana, California.
And 4 others are also facing charges in that case, including G-Mac's wife and his brother. Our nation's prisons and jails are overflowing with prisoners serving time for drug-related crimes. By one estimate, 80% of all prison inmates were high when they committed their crime or were caught trying to buy drugs or have a criminal history of either drug or alcohol addiction. Christine Romans now tells us the story of one such offender, a young woman caught in a cycle of addiction and crime and who was given a choice between treatment or prison.
Norma Fernandez is making her daughter's lunch for school, a family routine once unimaginable.
I was tired, going back and forth to prison, getting up in the morning with withdrawals from heroin. I was tired. And, I was young. I was only 15 years old, and I needed to get my life together.
Addicted, stealing, and selling drugs. She spent a year in Rikers Island.
Jail didn't help me. I did a year in prison, and it didn't help me. I came back out and did the same thing.
She was given a choice: 4.5 to 9 years in prison or 24 months of inpatient drug treatment. She chose the Drug Treatment Alternative to Prison program, DTAP, started in 1990 by Brooklyn District Attorney Charles Hines.
The next time someone tells you that the way to deal with drug-related crimes is to put everybody in prison, stop listening to them because they're treating you like a fool. They're picking your pocket. It doesn't work.
He says rehab for nonviolent drug-addicted felons is cheaper and more successful than prison. A prison cell costs $45,000 a year, drug treatment about half that. Hines says the program has saved taxpayers some $40 million. More than half ultimately get on track, far better than the results from prison alone. Ann Swern administers the program and stresses this is no free pass for criminals.
Is residential drug treatment. So you have to live there. It's modeled to live there at least 12 to 15 months, followed by very serious aftercare.
And if they fail, back to prison. Norma didn't fail.
I'm proud now. I'm a college graduate. I own a 4-family home in Brooklyn. I have a beautiful daughter. She's 11 years old. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
24 months in drug treatment saved her life. It's about more than turning around the life of the individual addict. For advocates of treatment over prison, it's about public safety. If addiction is the disease at the root of the crime, they say you punish for the crime, but you also address that disease and you make the community more safe. You stop the cycle of violence, not for all criminals, but for those who are drug-addicted, nonviolent felons.
Well, D.A. Hines is to be commended. I mean, that's a great, and actually, you have to give him credit for great courage, because often the community is clamoring more for punishment and wanting to discard treatment. But as we all learn more and more, as we've been focusing on the war within and addiction in this country, it is so rampant to see this kind of success, and good for Norma. I mean, she seems like a delightful lady, and obviously doing very well.
And now she's working for the DA, Lou, and she is helping convicts who come out of prison re-enter society. She's getting them jobs, she's getting them housing. She's trying to give them some of the skills that she's learned to try to ease that transition. So she's sort of living what she did.
You know, we report here so much on what is going wrong in government, and so much of public officials who simply don't have that commitment to public service, serving the community and the people who make it up. It's nice to see this kind of story, this wonderful result. Let's hope it's replicated across the country and soon. Christine Romans, thank you very much. Coming up next, the thought police are on patrol, and oh, are they getting bold. They're trying to control your freedom of speech, stifle artistic creativity. Well, let's roll back the First Amendment and, you know, let's take political correctness to as absurd a level as we possibly can in this country. But first, you're going to have to get by me and a whole bunch of my colleagues. Also, rising outrage over a monument for Martin Luther King that will be made by a Chinese artist from Chinese government. I'll be talking one of the folks who made that decision. He's here to explain what in the world were they thinking. Can't wait for those two stories. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan card. You know what's great about this card? Wherever you go, nationwide, your coverage travels with you. And that's just one of the many reasons you need the card you can trust. Because with AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans, you can apply year-round, talk with personal health insurance advisors, and so much more. If you're turning 65 or older, or you've already enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan, call for this free information kit and Medicare guide. These are the only Medicare supplement insurance plans exclusively endorsed by AARP. These plans, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, help cover some of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare alone. This could save you thousands of dollars. Want your choice of doctors or hospitals, virtually no claim forms, and no referrals needed to see a specialist? Call for your free kit. Yep, this is one great card.
Your shoes untied, Bob. Your shoes untied, Bob. Your shoes untied.
Sprint rugged phones. Tested for toughness. From the leader in 810F mil-spec wireless phones. Because it's a cruel world out there. Businesses get the rugged Sanyo 7050 or the Motorola IC502 for $59.99. Visit sprint.com/business.
Sprint. Power up.
We've been reporting to you here a story about a monument honoring American civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. being sculpted by an artist from communist China, the statue also being carved from Chinese granite. The Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial Project Foundation says it selected the artist and the granite after an extensive amount of study and a search both in this country and around the world. One of the members of the selection committee is David Hamilton. He joins me tonight from Washington. David, good to have you here. What in the world were you folks thinking? You know, I have to tell you, I can't think of many instances, and I'm speaking only for myself, but I can't think of many instances in which you say to yourself, if there should be a selection based on race or ethnicity, it should be for the sculpting the only monument in our nation's capital dedicated to the man who led the American Civil Rights Monument. And that person should be American, he should be African American, if at all possible.
I understand your concern, Lou, and I appreciate the question. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. One of the things I'd like to mention is that the elements that Mr. Lee will sculpt are just elements of the memorial. They are not the total memorial. And the words and intent of Dr. King was that we judge people by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. And of course, that means not by culture or not by race.
So, well, let me ask you this. Are you against affirmative action?
Affirmative action should not be necessary in America.
I agree with you, but
not.
are you opposed to it?
No, I'm not opposed
Me
to
either.
affirmative action.
So why in the world, if you're African American and I'm not, but I have to say to you, I just can't, I'm proud that this country produced Martin Luther King. I'm proud of what he accomplished. I'm proud of what the civil rights movement accomplished. I can't get to the point where a communist regime and an artist from China is selected to bring Chinese granite into this country. I mean, it just buffaloes me. Help me out.
I'm going to help you out. First of all of the memorials, or many of the memorials on the mall, have gone through this evolutionary process from the concept to the final product. This is very similar to Vietnam Veterans Memorial, when people were outraged that an Asian American was the sculptor or the designer of that particular memorial.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Many of the people, this reminds
me...
Who
was the sculptor?
I mean, many of the people this reminds me of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, in which the designer of that memorial is a young lady by the name of Maya Lin.
And she is a what?
She's an Asian American.
An Asian American. What person in his or her right mind would care that an Asian American created? I have to tell you, I will dismiss it out of. I mean, that's an American citizen. Who cares if she's Asian American?
If you check the record, when Vietnam was being built, there was a huge outrage.
Well, not by me, partner.
Not by you, but the American public were upset because Maya Lin was.
Don't tell me the American public, because that, that American public's a big bunch of folks.
That's a big bunch of folks. That's right. But as you may recall, during the Vietnam era, it was absolutely...
Yeah, but let's get out of Vietnam. Let's get here to 2007.
Let's get to 2007.
Why in the world would you spend more money on a Chinese artist and to get Chinese granite? We've talked to a number of quarries. We've talked to a number of artists, one of whom was your original selection to be the artist, who is African American, a distinguished artist. And what are you spending? I mean, there's just no... I mean, people are outraged all around this. They don't understand your process or what you're thinking. And a lot of folks, including myself, think that doesn't even look like Martin Luther King.
Well, everybody has a different thinking about what it looks like.
Yeah, I understand.
That happens on every memorial. It is not anything unique. In terms of the content of the character versus the color of the skin, you said, Lou, that it's hard for you to get there. And Dr. King was trying to move our thinking from a limited perspective to a global...
In all due respect, Martin Luther King moved our thinking. He moved our laws.
Well, take the next
step. He
moved
moved our
Lou.
society.
Take the next step, Lou. Take the next step in your evolution. We forget that Dr. King was a minister first. He was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and his whole focus is a biblical perspective in which we are all brothers. We're all brothers. And to say that it has to be an African American would be the same thing as saying white only at a certain period in time in our culture.
Now, brother, you
Yes,
know
my
better
brother.
than that. That doesn't even begin to hold water. And let me say secondly, Martin Luther King is an American treasure. And I don't understand where you're going with this. How in the world do you spend all that money to go to China when you can use African American workers? You could use American workers, American stone.
See, you're mixing up when you say America. The memorial will be actually constructed by an American firm with American workers from all different colors and cultures. They will actually build the memorial. What you're focusing on is the sculptor who's going to do part of the memorial.
How much are you spending on this Chinese project?
That's a poor coaching of it. It's not a Chinese project. It is a memorial.
Let me try it again. How much are you spending with the Chinese artists and the Chinese?
I don't have the figures of actually how much money. The bulk of the money is in the actual construction of the memorial.
How much have you raised?
We've raised $78 million, and we're almost there at the $100
The folks we've
million.
talked with the folks we've talked with, David, tell us that this shouldn't cost more than at most $15 million.
The World War II memorial cost well over...
I'm not talking about the World War II, Mark. I'm talking about this
But
one.
you've got to understand, this memorial, you cannot look at it in isolation when it is with the other major icon memorials. And
okay, let me ask you this. Then, doggone it,
it
if you want to raise this to an international issue, what are the Chinese going to put up a memorial, an exact replica in the heart of downtown Beijing, their capital?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Wait a minute. You said Martin Luther King is to be embraced by the world. We want to embrace him at our nation's capital. We want to honor him and everything he stood for. If it's an international issue, then let the Chinese build one, and I'm delighted. I'll even contribute some money to it if the Chinese want to build one in downtown Beijing.
We would be happy to have your money. The problem that
no,
you're
I
having...
I was going to give it to the communist Chinese to build it.
Lou, give me a minute. Let me help you. Let me bring you along. Dr. King is one of our own, but he was an international figure. He was an international figure. His impact was global. The inscription on the side of his memorial will talk about his perspective that
what did he do for civil rights? Wait a minute.
Yes.
What did he do for civil rights in communist China?
Let me give you an example. When the students took over Tiananmen Square, the icon that they used to represent their freedom was a replica of the Statue of Liberty, which is located in New York.
I'm with you so far.
Okay, and that same icon of that statue has been used around the world for peace memorials. In fact, one of those is proposed for Washington. And in Dr. King's case, Dr. King is bigger. We love him, we embrace him as one of our own, but he was bigger than that, and he was trying to get us to view that perspective.
I think I take your point. You tried to bring me along. Maybe I'm just a little obtuse on this one.
I can be
but
gentle with
I've got strongly held views on it, so maybe you can get there. Come on back, David Hamilton. We'll further discuss it. And I will simply say this to you and your committee. A noble concept. I hope that you maintain that nobility. Find, in my hope, an African-American artist to lead this project and to render a statue of Martin Luther King, of which we will all be proud. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. David Hamilton.
Sculptor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to hear what you think about this issue. Maybe I do need to be brought along, and I'm being particularly obtuse. Straightforwardly, do you agree it would be a nice gesture for the Chinese government to build its own monument to Martin Luther King in the center of Beijing? Then we can see what the impact there would be. Personally, I love that idea. Yes or no? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results here coming up in a moment. Next, our distinguished panel of political analysts and strategists will be here to discuss the week's issues. They are many, they are profound, and some are simply ridiculous. But we'll be back nonetheless. Stay with us.
SAP software has made running my mid-sized business much easier. Actually, I have time for lunch. It's all very glamorous.
SAP software can grow as the company grows? That's great because we are definitely going global. Just as soon as we go national.
A female cheerleading coach and teacher charged with 29 counts of sexual misconduct against a 16-year-old boy student. Nancy Grace has the latest. Headline News Prime, tonight 8 and 10 a.m.
Explore the birth of the most powerful covert agency in the world with The Good Shepherd.
Everybody has secrets to tell. My secrets are bigger than others.
Terror lurks around every corner in Black Christmas.
You really shouldn't provoke somebody like that.
Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
Now I had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
At Sandals, having the time of your life means having everything you've ever dreamed of. But most of all, it's having the time together. Get up to 50% off depending on date of travel. Call 1-800-SANDALS or visit our website.
Looking for the perfect car? Comcast can help. Just press channel 889 on your remote and browse through all our Searchlight automotive listings. Searchlight, what are you looking for?
Looking for a new car? Check out VHIX.com videos. Our virtual test drives powered by Wheels TV and VHIX buying guides with JD Power ratings make car shopping easy and fun. Videos from VHIX.com, online at Comcast.net or on Comcast On Demand.
If you love cooking, you'll flip over Portland's original Iron Chef competition. Watch Portland chefs battle it out, bid for cooking lessons in France or tickets to the Police concert, and enjoy a gourmet dinner and local wines. Proceeds support Children's Relief Nursery. For information, go to crmforkids.org.
Hosts an all-star toast to Larry King. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Coming up at the top of the hour, Iraq War tell-all. A British diplomat, at least a former British diplomat, whose government tried to stop him from publishing a book, now tells all. He'll be here in the Situation Room. Also, a $65 million lawsuit. This is an outrageous story. A Washington judge trying to take his dry cleaners to the cleaners, and we're going to tell you what unfolded today. Also, pulling U.S. purse strings. You're going to find out why China potentially could hold a lot of us at debt, your mortgage, your 401k, a lot more. All that coming up right here in the Situation Room. Lou Dobbs Tonight continues right after a short break.
That's my brother Earl. He's been driving the same car for 20 years. What's worse, he's had the same car insurance for 20 years. I tell him, Earl, driving an old car is one thing, but having outdated insurance could be costing you a fortune.
Is that right?
Switch to the AARP insurance program from the Hartford. It's a program designed for people 50 plus.
If you're over 50, you might save $300 by switching to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford.
Really?
And with a good driving record, your deductible can disappear over time. Plus, your first accident could be forgiven.
Earl, no penalty for your first accident. Does your plan do that?
I didn't know anybody did that.
Not yet a member? Call now. We'll even send you a free calculator. Call 1-800-207-7413. 1-800-207-7413.
Well, the thought police got all dressed up and went on parade or patrol yesterday, whatever you want to call it. Not that they're capable of great or original thought. The people that took to the streets of New York, there are some of, whoa, who is that? That's Reverend Al Sharp. Oh, my goodness, that's Glenn Beck. Who else? Oh, my goodness. What they're doing, they're demanding that rap artists clean up their lyrics, representing what I consider to be a deep slide into very dangerous territory and something of an offense to creative freedom and also freedom of expression and a little minor item called the First Amendment. What else are you going to march on, people? Get real. Joining me now, three of the smartest political minds in the country: Ed Rollins, White House political director and Republican political strategist; Michael Goodwin, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, New York Daily News, Democratic strategist; Democratic National Committeeman Robert Zimmerman. Good to have you all with us. What in the world are the Democrats thinking about revoking the war authority? How much effect will that have on this president?
It's about changing the mission in Iraq.
I know what it's about. How much effect will it have?
You know something? When this issue started, the Democrats produced 13 votes in the Senate. Now you have both houses of Congress passing resolutions demanding that the Iraqi government be held accountable, demanding that our troops be protected when they're in battle.
How can you demand accountability of a government in which the parliament's talking about taking 2 months off when you got a September date set by General Petraeus to make a decision?
They're not prepared to be accountable. We shouldn't have our soldiers in the middle of a civil war, Lou. That's the issue here.
I think, Lou, you said the magic words there. Petraeus' September deadline is the real deadline. And I think that what Congress is doing now is just it's really about Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign more than anything else.
How's she doing?
Well, so. And I think that's the problem for her.
Well, she's leading.
But that's why she's trying to separate herself from the others, and she's still trying to get over her initial Iraq vote. I don't think this will accomplish that.
And first of all,
our troops are still there fighting. Your report earlier of the great burden that's going on our Army, and someone like Harry Reid basically saying we've lost the war already. Who have we lost the war to? We may not have met the objectives we want, but the Democrat strategy of drop our guns and run is not going to work. And we've got 3 or 4 more months to try and make this thing work. If it doesn't work at that time, we'll have bipartisan
Let's agree
support.
that Harry Reid was a bozo to say that we've lost. What was George Bush when he said we're failing slowly?
Well,
what's it separate? I'm trying to find the moral equivalence or lack of it between those two statements.
The bottom line is this president has got us into a war that without objectives, and we've talked about that over and over again. And I think that's what you can't measure. But to say we have lost a war is a direct condemnation of our troops.
Likewise, Ed, George Bush saying that we have to reach our victory is reaching an acceptable level of violence in the insurgency is also an absurdity. But Ed makes a very significant point. Democrats have got to make
he often does.
Yes, I listen closely. But because Democrats have got to make their strategic mission showing how we're going to take our troops out of the Civil War, how we're going to train our troops properly. And last time I checked, Mike Goodwin, you look at 70% of America saying that when they want to change in the mission, it's not just about presidential politics, it's about a failed policy.
Is after you. You get equal time.
Well, listen, I think that the Saudi foreign minister, for example, just said over the weekend to the New York Times that...
Agree for quoting the Saudi foreign minister?
Well, it's interesting because what he said is the Americans tell us, the American president tells us basically things are getting better in Iraq. Violence, oil shale. He says, we don't see it. And I think that's really what's going on. Forget what the Democrats are saying. Forget Hillary's
I don't
campaign.
see why anybody cares what the Saudi foreign minister is saying about anything.
Well, because
I don't see why anybody cares what the Kuwaiti foreign minister is saying about anything. I'd like to hear some leadership from U.S. elected officials.
Well, because if our regional allies will not support us in Iraq, if they will not help Iraq, and if they won't keep the Sunnis and the Shias from killing each other, there's not much we can do about it.
All right, let me ask you this. We just showed Al Sharpton, CNN's going back marching to shut down those foul-mouthed rap artists. They're taken to the streets. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absurd. And please don't march on me, Reverend Al. I'm so intimidated here. Please, just don't. I mean, this is nuts where we're going in this country.
The best part about Obama's candidacy is hopefully...
I was talking about Reverend Al Sharpton.
That's the point I'm going to make. The best thing about this is the Reverend Al Sharpton and the Reverend Jesse Jackson's role as leadership in the black community is going to get diminished. And I think it's a very positive thing for the black community and for America.
Well, that is why Hillary Clinton is doing this new Iraq thing, because of Barack Obama's gaining on it.
Should they shut down those rap artists?
I'd rather talk about Hillary Clinton and our future of our president's campaign.
Why? Don't you love Al Sharpton?
I have no use for Al Sharpton, but the issue here...
Got to go because we have 18 seconds. Gentlemen, as always, thank you. We over talked. 75% of you agree on our poll that it would be a nice gesture.